Chapter 76. The entanglement speed of the alien symbiote was very fast, almost half of Chen Hui's body was covered in the blink of an eye, and it was frantically devouring his venom battlesuit. After a while, the venom battlesuit has been devoured, and the entire alien symbiote has completely attached to Chen Hui, replacing the venom battlesuit. Chen Hui blinked his eyes. The entire alien symbiote is almost exactly the same as the venom battlesuit, the only difference is that it is wrapped around him at the moment. It is actually so comfortable. Chen Hui was slightly taken aback. Even at the moment, he can communicate with the alien symbiosis on his body through spiritual energy. After the other party feels it, he seems to be extremely excited, and instantly conveys a very dependent idea, wanting to live forever with himself together. Chen Hui was speechless. The alien symbiote, originally, is a creature with a very simple consciousness, and will absorb the thoughts and abilities of the first possessor. Obviously, the first host of the alien symbiote in me is me. And after swallowing the venom battlesuit, you have a sliver of consciousness of the venom battlesuit, and you are absolutely loyal to me. Chen Hui thought about it. Since he is the first host, there is no interference from the remaining consciousness of other hosts, and he has the loyalty of his venom battlesuit. Right now, this alien symbiosis is strictly speaking harmless to him. But I can't just let this symbiote attach to my body, and after absorbing my ability, others can have my ability as long as they get my alien symbiote. This must be put an end to. Thinking of this, Chen Hui thought. The alien symbiote was very cute, and it turned into a black bracelet around his wrist. Chen Hui decided to take this little guy to the laboratory to study it. While enhancing the benefits of this alien symbiote to oneself, find a way to make it only wearable on oneself, and if others get it, even if they wear it, they will not have Chen Hui's ability. When Chen Hui was going to find the second alien symbiosis. Suddenly. Okay. As he stared, a tingling feeling flooded into his mind. It's spider telepathy. And felt a very strong source of danger. It is rapidly approaching. Behind him. Chen Hui turned around abruptly, and the moment he turned around, the alien symbiote on his wrist spread out, and quickly turned into a black windbreaker covering his body, even blocking his face. At the same time, a wave of his right hand pressing the left shoulder, a bone sword shining with pale golden light was drawn out immediately. Clang! The bone sword resisted in front of him, making clangs and roars. Chen Hui focused his gaze on the attacker, and saw that the attacker had long blood-stained hair, fluttering wildly in the wind, and his entire face was covered by a scarlet mask, revealing only a pair of eyes, shining brightly. The bright scarlet light looks extremely strange. In addition, judging from the other party's enchanting and sexy figure, it seems to be one. The woman was covered in a scarlet tight battlesuit, but this tight battlesuit could squirm, and what Chen Hui vibranium bone sword collided with was a blood-red spike extending from the squirm of the battlesuit. After the sneak attack was fruitless, the woman retreated quickly without any hesitation, and didn't choose to fight recklessly. She seemed to be an assassin who was very good at sneak attacks. If one hit failed, she immediately retreated and prepared for the next sneak attack. Humph! Can I retreat? A cold light flickered in Chen Hui's eyes. Since he attacked him sneakily, he had to be prepared that he would never be able to escape again. Whoosh! As soon as his figure moved, violent power surged from the soles of his feet, and as soon as he stepped on the ground, the whole ground split apart, and his body quickly approached the woman like a cannonball. The woman's pupils shrank slightly, as if she didn't expect Chen Hui to be so fast. Raising his hand suddenly, a circle of viscous substance similar to a spider web shot towards Chen Hui, and there was a strong corrosive atmosphere in it. Chen Hui didn't even look at it, and cut it down with his sword directly. This cobweb sticky substance is fine if it touches other weapons, but when it touches his vibranium bone sword, it won't be viscous or corrosive. Not the slightest use. Swish! With the injection of chakra, the radioactive energy on the bone sword suddenly started to run crazily, turning into a circle of sharp energy light, tearing the sticky substance of the spider web in the blink of an eye. In the next instant, Chen Hui's figure was like lightning, and he quickly approached the bloody woman, slashing her with a sword. Stab! The scarlet battlesuit on the woman's body squirmed violently, trying to resist Chen Hui's vibranium bone sword, but it was in vain. The vibranium bone sword is so sharp, and with the strengthening of chakra, the sharpness is even higher. It was to tear the scarlet battlesuit apart. Wow! The scarlet battlesuit split apart and spread out like flowing water, but it didn't fall to the ground, but was suspended in mid-air, as if struggling to shrink back again. And at this moment, Chen Hui's eyes were fixed, and he suddenly saw a person in the scarlet battlesuit. Black Widow. So that's it. It seems that Black Widow is possessed by another alien symbiote, and from the perspective of ability, that other alien symbiote had a host before. Ability is very strong. Directly turn Black Widow into bloody and brutal, and the Widow. Chen Hui looked at the rapidly wriggling scarlet battlesuit, snorted coldly, and slashed again with the vibranium bone sword in his hand without the slightest pause. Swish swish swish. The entire scarlet battlesuit was chopped badly under his vibranium bone sword, and finally left directly from Black Widow, turning into a black and viscous symbiont trying to run away into the distance. Chen Hui was about to go after him, but he didn't want to suddenly have a strong idea coming from the alien symbiote on his body. This idea contains some information about the escaped symbiont, as well as an impulsive force that wants to devour the other party. Chapter 77. Sensing this strong thought, Chen Hui's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Interesting, it turns out that these two alien symbiotes have always wanted to devour each other. However, the symbiote in me used to not even have a host, so it's a bit strange to dare to fight with a symbiote with a certain ability. While thinking, Chen Hui quickly caught up with the alien symbiote who wanted to escape. Without the host, the symbiote's ability was very weak. Chen Hui easily caught it, and the symbiote on his body couldn't wait to pounce on it immediately. But Chen Hui moved the chakra all over his body and pulled it back directly. Since this little guy is on his body, he has no right to move freely. Under Chen Hui's forced order, the alien symbiote that was eager to try on his body immediately disappeared, and a wave of grievances was sent to Chen Hui, but Chen Hui ignored it at all, and grabbed the trapped other symbiote. A symbiont looked carefully. I saw some scarlet veins slightly showing in the depths of its pitch-black surface, which looked very strange. Come from outer space, and there used to be a host, then the host is likely to be a certain race in outer space. When I just possessed the Black Widow, the ability I displayed is somewhat similar to Carnage in the Marvel Comics. Slaughter is also a kind of symbiosis. And strictly speaking, Carnage is the first offspring of Venom. After combining with a brutal killer in a prison, Carnage has a scarlet blood color all over his body. The symbiosis on the body can be turned into a detachable weapon at will, and can also change its shape at will, such as turning into a puddle of liquid and entering the sewer pipe to escape. After observing for a while, Chen Hui decided to take this alien symbiote back with a host to study it carefully. Since it has a special ability, he will analyze this ability to provide more functions for his new battlesuit in the future. And change. Well, at this moment, Black Widow, who was originally unconscious, slowly woke up. Chen Hui paused and looked at Black Widow. At this time, although Black Widow had just woken up, as a well-trained agent, he was very vigilant. When he saw Chen Hui, especially Chen Hui's mysterious appearance covered in a black windbreaker covering his face, he immediately stood up. Get up, cold and authentic. Who are you? Chen Hui looked at Black Widow indifferently, and walked towards him without speaking. As a result, Black Widow immediately became more vigilant, especially since she recognized Chen Hui as the mysterious strongman who appeared frequently recently and fought against Magneto and Green Titan. She took out a gun instantly and pointed at Chen Hui. If you get any closer, I'll shoot you. Chen Hui ignored the gun at all. As soon as his figure moved, he was already within a meter away. This is the shortest warning distance. Black Widow doesn't have any hesitation anymore. Boom. With cold eyes, pull the trigger. But the next moment her eyes widened. With a movement of Chen Hui's hand, the bone sword's edge flickered, and the bullet was instantly split in half by him. At the same time, his figure moved, and he approached Black Widow like lightning. From his 5 fingers, sharp and small bony spurs emerged, like 5 claws shining with cold light, and directly grabbed Black Widow's head. Black Widow's pupil shrank, trying to resist and avoid it. But at this moment, Chen Hui directly pressed her shoulder with the other hand, under huge amounts of strength, making Black Widow unable to move at all. Seeing that the 5 bone spurs on Chen Hui's fingers were about to be caught, Black Widow thought he was going to die, subconsciously closing his eyes. PSST. A strange noise sounded from the ear. It sounded like the sound of flesh and blood breaking open, but Black Widow couldn't feel the slightest pain. Opening his eyes in surprise, he saw that there was a mass of black and scarlet viscous substance struggling in the opponent's hand at this moment, but there was a pale golden light covering it, making it impossible for the substance to escape. Humph! This alien symbiosis, it turned out that part of the body tissue was left behind, it's really cunning. Chen Hui sneered. It turns out that the previous escape of the alien symbiote was just a cover-up, and the most important subject still remained on Black Widow, trying to parasitize Black Widow all the time. Fortunately, he has spider telepathy and discovered it in time, otherwise, Black Widow will always be a Blood Widow in the future. In addition, without this subject, he can only study a fraction, and he can't study anything. Black Widow recognized the symbiote that had possessed her before, her face couldn't help changing, she was glad in her heart, this thing was terrible, she had tried it before, thinking that this thing had been hidden on her body before, she couldn't help it. A feeling of nausea burst out of my heart. Can't help putting away the gun, and sincerely replied to Chen, sorry, I don't know. Okay. Chen Hui nodded lightly, he didn't want to have much to do with the people of S.H.I.E.L.D, and with his spider telepathy, he could already feel a group of people coming from a distance, obviously the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 3.8 S.H.I.E.L.D. So after nodding, the figure moved, left quickly, and quickly disappeared into the woods. Natasha Romanoff. Not long after, Phil Coulson came with several agents. When he saw Black Widow, he hurriedly said, we detected a drastic change in your vital signs from the sensors on your body. What happened? It was an attack. What? And Dr. Chen Hui. Black Widow didn't reply right away. Instead, he took a deep look at the place where Chen Hui disappeared. Then he looked at Phil Coulson and said, Phil Coulson, don't worry, there is no attack, I guess there must be something wrong with the sensor, and as for Dr. Chen Hui, I think it's time for us to have an interview with him. Chapter 78. Late at night, in the laboratory. Chen Hui narrowed his eyes and picked up a test tube. In this test tube, is a small piece of alien symbiote cell tissue, black with a slight scarlet, wriggling and struggling, sometimes turning into a liquid surge, sometimes turning into a solid attack test tube, and even seems to be able to feel Chen because of the chakra's continuous integration. Hui's mental power, which has mutated and can spread out, wants to communicate with Chen Hui. In short, it is full of tricks, far from being able to compare with the venom symbiont extracted from Peter's gene, whether it is vitality or intelligence, it is more advanced. Worthy of being a symbiont from an alien. Chen Hui praised. Moreover, he has a vague feeling that neither the alien symbiote on him nor the scarlet alien symbiote is not an ordinary symbiote, and it is very likely that even in this symbiote race, it is a kind of symbiote. A special existence. Otherwise, if it is an ordinary symbiont, it will die if it leaves the 22 host for too long. The alien symbiote residing on my body seems to have a stronger desire to devour than the scarlet symbiote, but this desire is obviously an instinct, or ability. Chen Hui thought, and then looked at the test tube in his hand, but right now, the scarlet symbiote seems not only to devour, but also to obtain the ability of the symbiote in me. Could it be that the alien symbiote in me, once the other symbiotes are devoured, there will be some incredible changes? That's why this scarlet symbiote is greedy? But after devouring the venom battlesuit, there is no special change, except that it becomes extremely dependent on me. Okay. Suddenly a thought flashed in Chen Hui's mind, could it be because you haven't devoured enough? Thinking of this, Chen Hui pondered for a moment, then got up and went to the storage room, where he took out the Peter gene used as a backup venom battlesuit. 3 hours later. Chen Hui already has 3 venom symbiotes in his hands, each of which has integrated his genes, and is extremely loyal to him. After possessing someone else, it will not have any strengthening effect on others. It is his exclusive venom battlesuit. And as soon as the 3 venom symbiotes appeared, Chen waved the alien symbiote on his wrist and woke up. A strong devouring thought was transmitted to Chen Hui, as if asking for advice. After Chen Hui nodded in agreement, the alien symbiote on his wrist suddenly became ecstatic, and quickly rolled towards the 3 venom symbiotes, and only heard a grunt sound, and the 3 venom symbiotes were swallowed up. Chen Hui watched expectantly. He can feel a sense of satisfaction in the mind of the symbiosis, as if a person wants to sleep after eating and drinking. But other than that, Chen Hui infiltrated the chakra, and found that the vital signs of this alien symbiote are undergoing strong changes. Feeling this, Chen Hui looked forward to it even more. Such a strong change in vital signs seems to be evolving. Thinking of this, he simply tried to integrate his own chakra into this alien symbiosis, allowing it to absorb the power of chakra, making the changes in vital signs more intense. About 30 minutes later. PSST. Suddenly, a certain part of the alien symbiote's body swelled slightly, and immediately got off Chen Hui's body and jumped to the ground. It is obvious that this little guy squatted down, and then PSST again. As if something fell from its body. Chen Hui was stunned. His face became weird. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the symbiote obediently turned into a bracelet on his wrist again, while Chen Hui stared intently at the place where the symbiote was just now, only to see that there, unexpectedly appeared I ordered a small black oval ball of thumb file size. It's an egg. Symbiote eggs. Chen Hui's eyes widened, with incredulity in his eyes, and after the incredulity, if he thought of something, the expression on his face instantly became brilliant. Eggs of symbiotes. And after devouring other symbiotes. Could it be, the reason why the alien symbiotes on my body swallowed them is to lay eggs? This is not just a symbiosis, but a symbiosis mother. This thought flashed through my mind, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. But Chen Hui quickly calmed down. After all, there are many symbionts that can lay eggs. Maybe the reason for laying eggs is because they are already pregnant? I have to do another experiment to prove it. The first egg laying may be due to accident, but if it still lays eggs after being swallowed, it is definitely a symbiotic mother exists. Peter's genes have been used up, so Chen Hui simply took the tissue samples of the scarlet symbiont, through cell culture, using the method of making the venom symbiont, and made it into an alien-like symbiont. Basically it is similar to the scarlet symbiosis, but the 750 ability is extremely weakened. 3 copies were also produced. Then Chen Hui placed it in the palm of his hand, and almost at the same moment, the alien symbiote on his wrist suddenly conveyed an idea that was eager to devour it. After getting Chen Hui's permission, the alien symbiote couldn't wait to devour the past, even more eager than the previous one, and it almost devoured it in the blink of an eye. Then, about 20 minutes later, as Chen Hui's eyes lit up, the alien symbiote on his wrist reacted again, a certain part of his body swelled slightly, ran to the ground, and gave birth to the scarlet egg, then returned to Chen Hui's wrist. Seeing this, Chen Hui's face suddenly showed ecstasy. Sure enough, as long as it is devoured, eggs will be laid. This is a symbiotic mother body. This way, I have an almost endless collection of alien symbiotes to study. Even, through genetic modification, let the alien symbiote integrate with my skeleton, plus the spell-printed chip, I can also create a symbiote bone army that completely obeys my orders. Haha. Marvel Universe, Tremble. Chapter 79. Chen Hui then made a detailed assessment of the eggs of the alien symbiosis, including waiting for it to hatch, a detailed vital sign test, ability test, difference test with general symbionts, and so on. Finally found out. Although the hatched symbiont will have some subtle differences due to the difference in the phagocytosis of the mother, such as the difference in color, but in essence, it is a primitive symbiont. The quality is greatly enhanced, much stronger than the venom battlesuit. But other than that, there is no other ability. Therefore, Chen Hui called this hatched symbiont the original symbiont. Although there is no other ability, the plasticity of this original symbiont is very strong. Chen Hui extracted some genes of the scarlet symbiont to integrate, and found that the original symbiont could perfectly inherit these genes, thus possessing the ability of the scarlet symbiont. This made Chen Hui overjoyed. Later, I tried to integrate with cross-species genetic medicine, such as lizard medicine and spider medicine, and found that these original symbionts are all effective. And the effect is outstanding. Excited, Chen Hui had a whim, wanting to see if this primitive symbiont could integrate the Green Titan gene. However, the result disappointed Chen Hui. As soon as the original symbiont came into contact with the Green Titan gene, it immediately twisted crazily, followed by an instant explosion, and died quickly. This made Chen Hui a little depressed. It seems that this primitive symbiont can integrate most of the abilities, but for some genes that are too powerful to bear the abilities, it can't integrate at all. Once touched, it will die immediately. But even so, the value of this primitive symbiosis is still beyond imagination for Chen Hui. And he also found that because the symbiotic mother body is attached to him, these primitive symbionts born like the mother body are very obedient to his words, and can also be attached to his body, coexist with the mother body, and enhance his ability, and the effect of integrating with him is extremely good. It is several times the effect of integrate on ordinary people. This is also a surprise. If you want the symbiont mother to lay eggs, you need to devour other symbionts, but the mother is not picky eater. No matter what kind of symbiont is swallowed, after swallowing, it will give birth to almost the same original symbiont. So, I only need to use biological cloning technology to clone and cultivate the cells and tissues of symbionts in batches, and don't care about the abilities of these cloned symbionts, even if they don't even have life consciousness. In this way, feeding my symbiont mother with a lot of crude symbiont food will give birth to primitive symbionts with infinite value. It really shouldn't be too much money. These days Chen Hui is basically soaking in the laboratory, studying his symbiont, and even brought Dr. Banner over to study together. After Banner saw these symbionts and learned about their abilities, he couldn't help being very interested, so at the instigation of Chen Hui, he also fell into the crazy research of symbionts. So in Gwen's helpless eyes, she could see two research madmen talking to themselves and discussing with each other in the laboratory every day, laughing wildly like a madman from time to time, and she was speechless. But soon she also fell into the study of these symbionts. It's not because of helping Chen Hui study symbionts, but because Chen Hui plans to tailor a special symbiont battlesuit for Gwen. While enhancing Gwen's space ability, Gwen can also have some of his own means of attack. Time goes by day. Chen Hui was immersed in the experimental research and got carried away, but he didn't know that he was outside. Black Widow had sent Chen Hui countless invitations, visit requests, etc., but Chen Hui left them idle. Black Widow was almost gnashing his teeth angrily. She found that once she met Dr. Chen Hui, who was originally very calm and thoughtful, she would immediately change her personality and become irritable and impatient, as if all her decades of experience as an agent had been eaten by dogs. Thinking of the days when she was played around by Chen Hui, she couldn't help but clench her fists. There has never been a single person who has driven her so crazy, and more importantly, the other party is only a 16-year-old boy. She even had the idea of sneaking into Chen Hui's lab secretly. However, due to Nick Fury's order, Chen Hui's normal life cannot be disturbed, and Phil Coulson is on the sidelines to supervise him. In desperation, he finally had to give up. Boom! On this day, Black Widow was considering whether to call Fury and change a mission, when there was a roar in the sky. Okay. Black Widow looked and saw a steel figure flying towards him. He couldn't help but frown. Tony Stark? What is he doing here? Boom! Through the scan of J.A.R.V.I.S., Tony quickly found Black Widow and others, so he flew straight to the hiding place of a group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, landed. Hey, my beautiful assistant, your face doesn't look very good, okay? What? The famous Black Widow has been bullied by some people recently. Tony's steel mask opened, revealing his somewhat teasing face. He had heard about the specific situation here, and he naturally knew the news that Black Widow was played around by Chen Hui. With his poisonous tongue, he would definitely make fun of Black Widow when he saw Black Widow. After all, Black Widow once approached him as his assistant, and the two of them are very familiar, especially with Nick Fury, who recently engaged in matters related to the Avengers, and they have some understanding of things in SHIELD. Hearing this, Black Widow raised his eyebrows immediately, and glanced at Tony with a dangerous look. Oh, come on, Nada, Zhao, Sha, you know I'm more outspoken. Tony raised his eyebrows and said, actually, you don't have to worry about it. Chen Hui is just like that. He has no ill intentions towards you. I'll call him out for you later. You can have a good chat and make friends, definitely. It's okay if you want to have a super friendship. After all, our Dr. Chen Hui is just a fresh meat, but it depends on your ability. Tony said, winking at Black Widow. Black Widow ignored it directly. Well, since you don't accept the kindness, forget it. Tony shrugged his shoulders and smiled. I'm going to see Dr. Chen Hui next, but I'm looking for him to play, and I won't talk about the Avengers. If you want to get him, it depends on your own ability. Fertile. As he said that, there was a roaring sound under his feet, and as soon as his figure moved, he flew towards Chen Hui's laboratory. Chapter 80. Laboratory. A special device that can accommodate a person to stand in. Gwen is inside, with a dignified expression and some anticipation, waiting quietly. Gwen, the symbiosis device is about to open, are you ready? Chen Hui's voice echoed around the installation. Ready. Gwen nodded and took a deep breath. Okay. Then I will activate the device. Chen Hui said, but Gwen, you should pay attention, this symbiont battle suit, after the research of Dr. Banner and I, is in the molecular form when it resides on the human body, that is to say, this battle suit will be fully integrated with your DNA. During this period you must not have the mentality of resistance, otherwise the symbiote will not be able to perfectly integrate with you, understand? Clear? Okay. Then, the experiment begins. Outside the symbiosis device, Chen Hui looked at Gwen's figure on the screen, took a deep breath, and turned on the switch with a little nervousness and expectation. After the unremitting efforts of him and Dr. Banner, a symbiote battlesuit exclusive to Gwen was finally created for Gwen. This set of symbiont battlesuit is not just generated by an original symbiont, but has been transformed by Chen Hui to incorporate a total of 9 original symbionts that were trained for special abilities, extracting their gene abilities and bringing them together. It was only generated after special transformation. 440. It can be said that this symbiont battlesuit is the most perfect and powerful symbiont battlesuit so far since Chen Hui's research. Wow! As the device started, a trace of viscous substance suddenly condensed from Gwen's body. This substance was similar to the symbiont, but the difference was that the color was pure white and the texture was crystal clear. I don't think there is a sense of stickiness, but it gives people a strange feeling like a work of art. The pure white symbiont attached to Gwen's body, penetrated it quickly, and merged into Gwen's body with the fluctuations emitted by the device. And at the moment of integration, some red veins and textures were vaguely revealed, like flames lingering, which looked very strange. Chen Hui watched all this carefully outside. Although after a lot of simulation demonstrations, he was still a little nervous when things came to an end and it was about Gwen. When he noticed that the symbiont that had merged into Gwen's body showed red veins, his eyes flashed, revealing a trace of solemnity, and then he suddenly looked towards the place where Gwen's vital signs were displayed. When he saw it, his brows frowned. Wrinkled. Because at the moment Gwen's life characteristics are very weird. Logically speaking, it should reveal, a gradually stronger trend, and the vital signs line is a smooth rising parabola. But right now, it is rising in fluctuations, as if there is an unstable factor in Gwen's body that is interfering with the penetration of the symbiont. Is this why the symbiont reveals the red vein texture? Chen Hui watched carefully and kept thinking. The symbiote showed red veins, which proved that some unpredictable thickening had occurred when it bonded with Gwen. This mutation may be a beneficial mutation, but it may also be a harmful mutation. But Chen Hui didn't have any intention of panic, but watched solemnly. In order to prevent Gwen from having any accidents, he also integrated his blood genes in the symbiont, so that he could also carry out the symbiont. Control is a hidden means of protection. Once something unexpected happens, Chen Hui can use this control to protect Gwen from experimental accidents. However, the characteristics of this mutation have not yet emerged. If it is a harmful mutation, then Chen Hui will immediately stop the experiment without hesitation and force the symbiont out of Gwen's body. But if it's a beneficial mutation. Thinking of this, Chen Hui couldn't help but feel more anticipation, because from the current point of view, this mutation is very likely to be beneficial. Boom! With the shock of the symbiosis device, the whole experiment was completely over, and the hatch of the device was opened, and Gwen's figure was revealed in a spreading white mist. I saw Gwen at the moment, wearing a white and red-based night-style combat uniform similar to Chen Hui's trench coat, wearing snow-white boots, a pair of long legs perfectly displayed, pretty the face was covered, only the eyes were exposed, and the long golden hair was spread out, making it look longer and more elegant than before. Chen Hui opened his eyes wide and stared blankly. This appearance, and his combat uniform, one black and one white, match perfectly. And Chen Hui felt vaguely familiar. Suddenly there was a flash of inspiration in my mind. Hey? I'm with Gwen, isn't it a bit like the hero and heroine of Sword Art Online? Chen Hui thought a little strangely. Seeing Chen Hui staring at her intently, Gwen blushed and said, "Why are you staring at me like that? Definitely looks good." Chen Hui smiled, and immediately hugged Gwen down, causing Gwen to smile coquettishly. Dr. Banner smiled and watched from the sidelines. "Oh, by the way, Gwen, I see that during the experiment, the symbiont seems to have undergone some mutations. Do you feel anything?" Chen Hui suddenly asked. Mutations? Gwen was taken aback, thought about it carefully, then raised her hand. "Is this what you mean?" As soon as the voice fell, a mass of space suddenly twisted from Gwen's palm, and a flame-like texture was derived, from which a palpitating force surged out. From the outside, it looks like the scene where Scarlet Witch is about to cast super ability. Sensing this, Banner's complexion changed suddenly, and a low growl came from his throat, showing a faint tendency to transform into a green titan. Chen Hui's face also changed, but soon a strange color flashed in his eyes. He took a closer look at the distorted force in Gwen's palm. "Gwen, how did you do it?" "Not sure," Gwen said. "When the symbiont entered my body, I felt that a certain place in my body was activated, and then through the power of space, it seemed to be connected to a special place from which I could communicate. See a mysterious power. Here, it is the power gathered in the palm of my hand, but I can only communicate so much at most." Hearing this, Chen Hui's eyes became more strange. He knows that the Marvel Universe is full of various magical powers, such as Phoenix Force, which will choose some spiritually powerful people as the host of the Phoenix Force, and Phoenix in X-Men is one of the hosts of Phoenix Force. Another example is Sentry, a strong player similar to Superman in Marvel. Sentry broke into a professor's laboratory by mistake, drank the secret formula potion invented by that professor, and thus possessed the energy of 1 million sun explosions. In fact, it was a mysterious power from another universe, and all of them entered the Sentry's body. Chen Hui did not expect that a symbiont battlesuit experiment would give Gwen the ability to communicate with the mysterious power of the universe, which was a surprise. "Gwen, I think this ability should originally be what you have, and the symbiont just helped you stimulate this ability," Chen Hui said. "Come and try to use this ability to attack me. Let me see how strong this ability is." Chapter 81. "Ah! Let me attack you." Gwen was taken aback, then quickly shook her head. "No, what if I hurt you?" "Haha, Gwen, if you are not willing to attack Dr. Chen Hui, then attack me. I have rough skin and thick flesh, it doesn't matter." At this moment, Banner smiled, transformed into a green titan, patted his chest and said. He looked at the mysterious twisting power in Gwen's hands, and was also very interested. "Gwen, why don't you attack both of us?" Chen Hui laughed. "Both Dr. Banner and I are looking forward to your mysterious power, don't stop hesitation, besides, even bombs are right. Dr. Banner and I are useless. How powerful do you think this mysterious power is? How many times stronger than the bomb?" "That's true." Gwen thought about it, and felt that what Chen Hui said made sense, and that her mysterious power had only been absorbed a little bit, so it shouldn't have much power. Then the other palm moved, and a group of distorted power like a flame was also condensed, and Kikai followed Kikai towards Chen Hui and Banner, who transformed into a green titan. At this moment, Tony has already arrived at the door of Chen Hui's laboratory. Chen Hui, a research madman, wonders if he will put down his experiment and go to the desert of New Mexico with me? But he should be interested in the hammer that no one can lift, right? Thinking about it, Tony was about to open the door of the laboratory and go in. The security system here is all built by him, so he is naturally qualified to enter. But he hasn't stepped in the door yet. Boom! There was a sudden bang, and Tony almost jumped up in fright. And Black Widow and others who followed from a distance stopped suddenly and looked in the direction of Chen Hui's laboratory with a bewildered expression. The door of the laboratory was broken, and two figures, one big and one small, flew upside down from it, and hit Tony's body at once, with huge amounts of impact force, making the three of them entangled together in an ecstasy posture. After rolling several times on the ground, it stopped. My God! Feeling a huge green object pressing on his head, Tony looked dazed. The two figures that flew out were naturally Chen and Lu Titan. At this moment, Chen Hui was in a panic, sat up from the ground, and saw Tony being pressed down by the green titan's butt. He couldn't help being stunned. "Hey? Tony, why are you here?" Tony also stood up, and when he realized that he was pressed down by the green titan's butt, his face turned green immediately, and he looked hopeless. Tony, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Banner hurriedly changed back, apologizing to Tony. At this time, from the smoke and dust of the ruins, the space distorted, and Gwen's figure appeared. When he saw Chen Hui, he immediately ran over in a panic. "Oh, Chen Hui, Dr. Banner, are you all right?" I said, don't do such a dangerous experiment." "Hey? Mr. Iron Man, why are you here? And who are those people?" An hour later, in the laboratory. As a 3D projection screen in the air paused, Chen Hui stood up, took a closer look, moved, swiped, and pulled. The 3D projection screen was magnified immediately, and a huge pit in the screen was clearly revealed. In front of him, and around the huge pit, is a blockade made of steel. With a move of his hand, Chen Hui removed all the blockades. In the end, all that was left was a bare crater, and one of them, a hammer. Tony, is this the weird hammer you mentioned that no one can lift? Chen Hui asked Tony, who was on the side. Good. Tony nodded and smiled. How about it, Chen Hui? Are you interested? Do you want to go over there with me? Definitely interested. A smile curled up at the corner of Chen Hui's mouth. If that's the case, let's set off later. Oh yes, by the way, bring Dr. Banner and Gwen along. That's definitely no problem. Tony nodded happily. Tony also has a certain understanding of Banner's affairs, but in fact the three of them have become friends who can talk about everything, and Chen Hui is also very clear about S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury's plan to establish Avengers. It's just that Chen Hui has no interest in joining the Avengers. Tony also knew what Chen Hui meant, that's why he acted like he didn't really want to help when faced with Black Widow's group who wanted to recruit Chen Hui. 0. As for Banner's work in Chen Hui's laboratory, will General Ross, who has been trying to capture the Green Titan, know about it? Don't worry about this, Tony has already told him that General Ross has been controlled by S.H.I.E.L.D. Stop, even if you know that Banner is here, you have no right to come and arrest people. What's more, Banner's whereabouts are now a secret with extremely high authority even in S.H.I.E.L.D., and it is impossible for General Ross to know. Now that we have decided to go to the desert of New Mexico, it is natural to make some preparations first. The hammer, without a doubt, is Mjolnir. Chen Hui thought while preparing, and since Mjolnir appeared, it proves that Thor is about to arrive on Earth, and it is even possible that he is already on Earth. And if so, for Mjolnir, Chen Hui is naturally very interested. But besides that, he has a more important purpose. After studying the genes of so many people on Earth, Chen Hui really wanted to change the taste. Thor, the god, is a fresh taste that he really wanted to try. So, Chen Hui's most important purpose is to study the genetic power of gods. Chapter 82. 3 days later, the Great Desert of New Mexico. Woo-whoa. 2 large desert off-road vehicles galloped from a cloud of sand and dust, splashing countless sand grains, and in these 2 desert off-road vehicles, bursts of wild shouts sounded, accompanied by fast-paced heavy metal music. It made the whole sky seem to be burned by this wild enthusiasm. Soon, the 2 vehicles came to a huge pit in the desert. The car stopped and several people stepped out of it. Is this where Mjolnir fell? Chen Hui got out of the car, looking at the huge pit with strangeness in his eyes. Although I have seen this huge pit in the 3D projection screen, and I have also seen the Thunder 380 God's Hammer, but after all, it is different from what I saw with my own eyes. Things like Mjolnir, you have to really touch it with your own hands to perceive its thickness. Dr. Chen Hui, let's go. Phil Coulson got off the driver's seat and smiled at Chen Hui. There is a man who has been looking forward to meeting you and is waiting inside. Oh. Chen Hui's eyes moved. Want to see yourself, and look, Phil Coulson is very respectful to him, then there is no doubt that the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury. Phil Coulson, Dr. Chen Hui is here to see and see, I think it's better to take him around here to see the situation first. At this moment, the door of the driver's seat of another car opened, and a woman with long red hair walked out of it. She was dressed in a tight-fitting agent black dress and looked very sexy and enchanting. There is no doubt that it is Black Widow. At this moment, Black Widow walked over, his eyes never separated from Chen Hui, and there was a fierce light inside, as if he was about to eat Chen Hui, but soon the fierce light turned into a smile, and with the red lips curled up, it bloomed on Black Widow's charming face, turning into a touch of coquettishness. What do you say, Dr. Chen Hui? Hearing this, Chen Hui touched his chin and showed a funny smile. Indeed, as the Romanov agent said, I'm here to see and see, Phil Coulson, I wonder if I can go and see the hammer first. Of course. Phil Coulson nodded. On a lifting platform, Chen Hui looked down. I saw a silver-grey hammer appearing in front of my eyes. The whole body of the hammer had a vague and simple atmosphere, and it rushed towards me. Chen Hui's eyes flashed with strangeness, and Chakra followed his spiritual thoughts silently, toward rolled over with Mjolnir. Touch soon. At the moment of touching, Chen Hui's eyes flashed suddenly, and he felt a wave in it, which actually spread, and directly blended with his chakra. It seems that there is an idea infiltrating from that Mjolnir, to check what the chakra energy he rolled over is. Feeling this, Chen Hui had a clear understanding in his heart. On Mjolnir, there is the divine power of the father of God Odin. This kind of divine power is actually a kind of biological power, but the divine power also contains the natural power of the universe, which produces a strange change, thus forming another strange force, that is magic power. It is this magic power that endows this hammer with an extraordinary ability, unless it is recognized, otherwise it is impossible to lift it. I remember that in Hokage, human cell energy, spiritual energy and natural power integrate can produce more powerful power. This kind of power is called Senju Chakra. Now it seems that this Senju Chakra is similar to the existence of divine power. In this Mjolnir right now, it is obvious that Odin's original divine power that has not yet been transformed into magic power is contained. If I can steal this divine power into my pull. Thinking of this, Chen Hui cheered up. With a jump, he came directly to the side of Mjolnir. Seeing this, the surrounding people all went down one after another, circling around Chen Hui, wanting to see what Chen Hui was going to do. At this moment, Chen Hui seemed to have forgotten everything around him. He put his hand on Mjolnir, followed chakra to infiltrate it crazily, trying to follow the strange fluctuation released from Mjolnir, before it repelled, find the power of Odin hidden in it. Time seemed to stand still at this moment. Everyone saw that Chen put his hand on the hammer and remained motionless. After 10 minutes, he was still the same, and everyone's expressions became strange. Chen Hui, what is he doing here? Tony asked strangely. Could it be that you want to communicate with this hammer? Dr. Banner asked thoughtfully. It's possible. Gwen murmured, I feel a strange power in this hammer. Phil Coulson watched carefully, but did not speak. Humph. Playing tricks? Could it be that this hammer can be lifted? Black Widow thought arrogantly in his heart. However, he was still a little curious about what Chen Hui was doing, so he couldn't help approaching the hammer, and even stretched out his hand to touch the hammer. But suddenly she froze. Because of a hand, grabbed her violently. Romanoff agent, be careful, don't touch this hammer randomly. But Chen Hui 3.0 suddenly moved, he grabbed Black Widow's palm, and said coldly, otherwise, if something goes wrong, don't blame me. What's wrong? Black Widow was taken aback for a moment, then laughed angrily, what's the problem? I've touched this hammer many times, and there's never been a problem. Why do you have problems when you come here? Could it be you are the owner of this hammer, or are you able to lift it? Chen Hui was slightly silent when he heard the words. Immediately looking at Black Widow, a smile curled up on the corner of his mouth, that's right, I can really lift it. As he spoke, he moved his hand towards the handle of the hammer. Follow up. In the astonishment of everyone, he directly raised the Mjolnir. Chapter 83. Hey! Everyone's eyes widened in surprise. Especially Tony, Phil Coulson and Black Widow, they have been in contact with this Mjolnir before, and they know how amazing the weight of this hammer is, no matter what method they use, they can't move it, let alone lift it up. Can Chen Hui? He actually lifted it up with one hand. God! Seeing this scene, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who were going back and forth around couldn't help but stop in their tracks, staring blankly at Chen Hui who raised Mjolnir, with their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open, stunned. At the same time, in this blocked area, in a command room, Nick Fury was looking at the screen of Chen Hui and others on the monitor in front of him. When he saw Chen Hui raising Mjolnir, his intact right eye, suddenly a mass of light flickered out. At the moment, on a small hill not far from the blockade, a tall and burly man with blonde hair like a lion looked into the huge pit with a telescope, and beside him, there was a thin woman with a determined face, and a bald old man with an astronomical instrument in his hand. 22 If Chen Hui is here, he will definitely recognize that this is Thor who was demoted to the earth by Odin, his girlfriend Jane Foster, and the doctor of astronomy who helped him, Eric Sand Dr. Vig. At the moment, Thor was holding a telescope, trying to find the whereabouts of his warhammer. But at this moment, he fixed his eyes and saw the scene of Chen Hui holding up Mjolnir. What? How is this possible? Thor's eyes widened, thinking he was dreaming, and took a closer look. After confirming that the other party had indeed raised his warhammer, he stood up abruptly, and then rushed towards the huge pit without any hesitation. Past. Thor, wait a minute, didn't we agree to act at night? Seeing Thor rushing out, Jane's expression changed, and she also rushed over without any hesitation. And Dr. Shaij was panting, and finally climbed up the hillside with astronomical instruments. Seeing that the two of them were running away quickly, he couldn't help opening his eyes wide and yelling angrily. "Hey, can you two consider how I feel?" In the giant pit. With a calm expression, Chen Hui raised Mjolnir and then put it down again. Everyone only felt the whole ground shake, followed by a circle of smoke and dust spreading out around Mjolnir. Seeing this, everyone's pupils shrank slightly, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and could clearly feel the amazing gravity contained in this war hammer. Can't help looking at Chen Hui's eyes, the look of reverence is even more. Black Widow was completely stunned. The reason why she suggested Chen Hui to see Mjolnir first was to see Chen Hui's restless look when he couldn't lift Mjolnir, because she couldn't understand Chen Hui's always calm look. When I arrived, I felt angry all over my body, and those days of being played around came to my heart. But she never imagined that Chen Hui actually raised Mjolnir. I was speechless at the moment, not knowing what to say. Call. Chen Hui heaved a sigh of relief inwardly. In fact, he was able to lift Mjolnir thanks to the divine power of Odin contained in it. Good. Through his own chakra, Chen Hui has pulled out the remaining original divine power of Odin, and initially integrated with his own chakra. This immediately caused a mutation in his chakra. The power is stronger, and even through this chakra, he can faintly control the power of nature, and it is this mutation that integrates the chakra of Odin's divine power, allowing him to lift Mjolnir. However, the Odin power of Chen Hui integrate is not much, and the mutated chakra is only a small part, which will be exhausted sooner or later with use. So Chen Hui just lifted Mjolnir for a while and then put it down. If he kept holding it, his mutated chakra, which was not much in the first place, would soon be exhausted. This mutated chakra is the one that integrated Odin's divine power, so let's call it Divine Power Chakra. Chen Hui thought to himself, Divine Power Chakra is much stronger than ordinary chakra, but it's a pity that only with such a small part, if I have endless chakra power all over my body, I will be able to cross the universe and beat Thanos in the future, just around the corner. Thinking of this, Chen Hui is even more looking forward to studying the genes of those gods. Even if one day, he can obtain the genes of the father of God Odin, that may make his idea of having endless chakras in his body truly come true. However, it is a little impossible to obtain Odin's gene. After all, it belongs to the father of God, and it is far away in the realm of the gods. If so, we can only make up for it a little bit and study the gene of Odin's son, Thor. In this way, it is estimated that we can get a glimpse of the mystery of divine power. Okay. Just as he was thinking, Chen Hui suddenly moved his eyes and looked into the distance. Seeing this, I was immediately happy. Really said that CAO is here, no, Thor is here. Boom. Thor knocked AS.H.I.E.L.D agent to the ground with one punch, and then ran 260 towards the giant pit at high speed. Although he lost his divine power and was demoted to the mortal world by Odin, Thor's physical strength is still extremely amazing. At this moment, Thor passed the test and soon approached the place where Mjolnir was placed. But at this moment, boom! A steel figure flew out suddenly, knocked Thor out, and fell to the ground hard. Hey, Mexican cowboys, breaking into other people's territory is not a good habit. Tony's figure landed on the ground with a clang, and looked over. And taking advantage of this opportunity, the surrounding S.H.I.E.L.D agents came up one after another, suppressing Thor firmly. Let go. Let me go. That's mine. The muscles of Thor's whole body swelled, and an astonishing force burst out suddenly, and the many S.H.I.E.L.D agents seemed to be pushed away for a while. Let him go. At this moment, a voice sounded. All the agents were taken aback. But when he saw Chen Hui walking over, he thought of the astonishing scene of Chen Hui holding up Mjolnir, and subconsciously backed away for a moment. Follow. Chen Hui came to Thor, stretched out his hand, and said with a slight smile, Are you saying that the Warhammer is yours? I don't know how you want to prove it. Chapter 84. How to prove it. Humph. Thor slapped Chen Hui's hand away. He recognized it, and the man in front of him was the man who had lifted his Mjolnir. Mjolnir can only be lifted by those who have been recognized. In Thor's view, Chen Hui's ability to lift the hammer must be because his old man Odin deliberately angered him, so he looked into Chen Hui's eyes, full of disdain, and stood up. After coming, go directly to where Mjolnir is. Call. At this time, Jane finally arrived here. Out of breath, she was taken aback when she saw Chen Hui, and then her eyes lit up. You are Dr. Chen Hui, right? Not bad. Chen Hui nodded with a smile. He recognized that this woman should be Jane Foster, Thor's girlfriend. Oh, that's great, my name is Jan Foster, and I'm your loyal fan. Jane said happily, and hurriedly turned out a notebook. Can you sign me? Before the words were half spoken, seeing Thor walking towards the huge pit, he immediately put the notebook back, and said apologetically, I'm sorry, I still have something to do. That's my big cousin, he's got a bit of a, well, you know, don't mind if he says something weird to you. Oh yes, I'll take him away in a minute. Why would you mind? Chen Hui showed an amused smile. Miss Foster, don't rush away, it just so happens that your eldest cousin wants to show off his ability, come and see it with us. Then turn around and walk in the same direction as Mjolnir. Jane was taken aback, seeing that everyone was following Chen Hui's pace. She couldn't help being amazed. He knew that Chen Hui had a lot of abilities, but at his age, so many people in this book could advance and retreat with his rhythm. There is no doubt that Chen Hui has a very high status in this military organization. Thinking in her heart, Jane moved her steps and also walked towards the huge pit. Soon everyone stood in a circle around Mjolnir, and Thor was right next to Mjolnir, looking around in high spirits, especially at Chen Hui with a provocative look. I am the son of Odin, Thor. And this is my war hammer. Except for me, Thor, in this world, no one else, no matter how powerful you are, can't lift this hammer. Thor's voice was extremely loud. At the moment, he was very excited. He finally found his war hammer. As long as he found the war hammer, he could return to God's domain and continue to be his Thor, son of Odin, inheriting his throne, his glory. Well, I'm sorry, Thor, right? Regardless of whether you are Thor or not, someone has lifted the hammer just now. At this moment Tony interrupted a sentence out of the blue. Thornton choked for a moment. Humph. That's just his luck. Thor snorted coldly. Everyone immediately rolled their eyes at him. Cough. Thor twitched the corner of his mouth, coughed dryly, and said again, okay, even someone can pick up my warhammer, but I am Thor. From the great Asgard. God's domain. I can use it my warhammer, open the door to God's domain, this is the best way to prove my identity, you all look forward to it. After all, he grabbed the warhammer with his hand. When everyone heard the words, their expressions lit up. Holy area? Asgard, does the god realm in myths and legends really exist? They all became curious and stared at Thor. Only Chen Hui was alone, and when he looked at Thor, the corner of his mouth curled up into an inexplicable smile. Wow! Thor's powerful palm tightly grasped the handle of the warhammer. He looked confident, and with a sudden force, he was about to lift the warhammer up. But the next moment, his face froze with confidence. Because the warhammer didn't move at all. How is this possible? Thor stayed where he was as if struck by lightning. When everyone saw this scene, they immediately booed. Especially Tony, this guy feels uncomfortable when he doesn't speak harshly, and he said to the people beside him cheaply, oh, to be honest, at that moment I really thought he could lift it, maybe because he ate it last night. I bought the spoiled cake from the old lady next door, so all the divine power in my body has been handed over to Jiao Kang from below. Ha ha ha. The agents around couldn't help laughing. Thor's face suddenly turned blue and red, and he gave Tony a vicious look, then took a deep breath, and looked at Warhammer again. It must be because I didn't adjust my state just now. Adjust your condition and continue. Call. Taking a long breath, suddenly, the veins on Thor's arm surged, and he grabbed the Warhammer violently, exhausting all the strength in his body, blushing, and roaring angrily. But no matter how hard he tried, the hammer just couldn't get up. Boom! In the end, with too much force, Thor fell to the ground, staring blankly at the Warhammer in front of him, with a dazed look on his face. Why? Why is it like this? There is no reason, because the current you have not been recognized by him. At this moment, Chen Hui's faint voice rang in his ear, the one who paid the money. However, Mr. Thor, I believe your words, and I also believe that you are Thor, but sometimes things that God cannot do, mortals can do it, just like I can lift this hammer, but you can't. Who the hell are you? Thor stared at Chen Hui. Oh, by the way, introduce yourself. Chen Hui took out a business card and handed it to Thor, with a smile on his lips. My name is Chen Hui, I am a PH. As the saying goes, human wisdom is infinite, and this infinite power can naturally lift this little warmer. If you want to gain the qualification and divine power to lift the hammer again, I think I can use my wisdom to help you. As long as you promise me a small condition. Chapter 85. This small condition, of course, is for Thor to provide him with a blood gene for research. Chen Hui has always wanted to obtain the genes of the people of God's domain, and since Odin's is not available for the time being, it would be good to get the genes of Odin's son Thor. It just happened that Thor came to the door by himself and lost his divine power. How could Chen Hui miss this golden opportunity? Definitely, after obtaining Thor's blood gene, Chen Hui will definitely help Thor regain his divine power, raise his war hammer, and return to the realm of the gods. Because his ambition is far more than that. When Thor is eligible to return to God's domain, I have to find a way to let him take me with him. If I remember correctly, the current Odin should be about to fall into a deep sleep. Sleeping Odin. It is the best time for me to obtain his blood gene. Chen Hui thought to himself. But at this time Thor heard the words, stared at Chen Hui closely, and frowned. Can you really help me regain my divine power? That's definitely. Chen Hui smiled. There is no basis for his words. Although Thor is a big and rough man, he has a subtlety in his roughness, and he will not believe him so easily. He has to give the other party a little bit of sweetness. 460 So Chen Hui smiled slightly, stepped in front of Thor, and put his palm on Thor's shoulder. Thor subconsciously resisted. But at this moment, his body froze suddenly, and he found that he couldn't move a bit under Chen Hui's pressure. Can't help but be shocked. How is it possible? This mortal, how can there be such a powerful force in such a thin body? Thor couldn't believe it, looking at Chen Hui, it rained suddenly. But he still doesn't believe that Chen Hui has the ability to help him recover his divine power. If this is the case, wouldn't the mortal in front of him be at the same level as his father Odin? Just when Thor was thinking wildly, Chen Hui placed the palm on his shoulder, and a divine chakra penetrated into his body. Feeling this divine power chakra, Thor's body shook violently. Surprise appeared on his face. After carefully feeling the changes in his body, the surprise turned into ecstasy in an instant, and immediately grabbed Mjolnir without any hesitation. Boom! Mjolnir was shocked, and under the inconceivable eyes of everyone, he was picked up by Thor directly. Haha! I finally regained my divine power. I can finally return to God's domain. Thor laughed wildly, picked up his warhammer, and pointed at the sky. Heimdall, open teleportation. Okay. What? Before the wild laughter dissipated, a scream suddenly came from Thor's mouth. I saw that the warhammer that was originally held by Thor suddenly fell from his hand at this moment and hit the ground, causing the whole earth to roar violently. It enveloped the entire giant pit, causing everyone to retreat in fright. Thor, on the other hand, fell to the ground in a mess. He stared at the Mjolnir in his hand blankly, unable to believe it was real. Why? Why exactly? Didn't he obviously raise the warhammer just now? Logically speaking, it should restore his divine power in an instant. Just when Thor's heart was shaking, a pair of feet appeared in front of him. Thor looked up. Seeing Chen Hui reaching out his hand, he smiled at him and said, "How is it? Thor, now you should believe my words, can you restore your divine power? But let me remind you, CCFH, what I gave you just now is just a trace. You can only raise your warhammer once. If you want to restore your divine power permanently, I think, from now on, you should choose to trust me and cooperate with me, so that I can help you." Who are you? Why would a mortal possess divine power? Thor growled. The corner of Chen Hui's mouth curled up. The so-called divine power, in my opinion, is a stream of biological energy in the human body. In the universe, everything is common. Thor, you say you are a god, but in fact you are only a little stronger. Don't underestimate the mortals on earth, because it's a mortal like me who not only lifted up this Mjolnir but also let you lift Mjolnir. In other words, I gave you the power of Thor. If you still choose not to believe me, then I don't care. I only give you one chance. If you miss this chance, even if you beg me on your knees, I won't help you anymore. After finishing speaking, Chen Hui's voice gradually became colder. Follow the footsteps, turn around and leave. Right now, the giant crater is full of turbulent sand and dust, and everyone is frightened back, so the words of the two were not heard by others. Upon hearing this, Thor stared blankly at the back of Chen Hui leaving. Suddenly, he shouted loudly, "Tell me, what is the condition you want?" Chen Hui's footsteps stopped. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, then he turned around, came to Thor, and said with a smile, "It's very simple, all the divine power comes from your body, so if you want to restore the divine power, you must provide me with a blood gene sample. Next, I will start research to help you restore your divine power, pick up the hammer, and return to the realm of the gods." "What? Want a genetic sample of my blood?" Thor frowned. He is a god. How can you easily give your genes to others? Seeing Thor's hesitation expression, Chen Hui immediately turned around without any hesitation, as if he was about to leave. Seeing this, Thor immediately became anxious, and quickly grabbed Chen Hui and said, well, you have to promise me that taking my blood gene sample can only be used for research to help me recover my divine power, and no other evil things can be done. Otherwise, I will never end with you." "That's definitely." Chen Hui nodded happily. Chapter 86. 3 days later, in Chen Hui's laboratory in Queens, New York. With the operation of an extremely sophisticated special gene sequencing instrument, a genetic model gradually condenses and takes shape on the touch panel in Chen Hui's hands. The whole model looked very complicated. Chen Hui frowned slightly when he looked at it, followed by an interesting look on his face. "Interesting, the genes of these gods are really different from us ordinary people." As he spoke, he grabbed it with his hand. Immediately, the genetic model on the tablet was taken by Chen Hui out of thin air. Throw it into the air, and immediately the entire genetic model appears in mid-air as a 3D projection, and rays of light scan over it, which is quite magical. "Kaguya-kun, analyze this genetic model in as much detail as possible, and show me the analysis results." "Yes, sir." A slightly bewitching woman's voice sounded around, followed by a percentage bar appearing in the air, and the progress was slowly increasing from 1%. Seeing this, Chen Hui smiled, "It's convenient to have a smart housekeeper." Kaguya-kun. His smart butler. The new generation of super-intelligent program jointly developed by Hammer Industries and Stark Industries is similar in nature to JARVIS. It's just that in addition to some functions normally possessed by J.A.R.V.I.S, Kaguya also specializes in the field of biology, and can help Chen Hui analyze gene models, study biological genes, make medicinal liquids, analyze and evaluate, etc. In short, Kaguya Empress G, Chen Hui's future research efficiency will become extremely fast. As for why the name Hui Yeji was chosen, it's all due to the little evil in Chen Hui's heart, drop. The analysis has been completed, and now the analysis results are displayed. Kaguya G's voice sounded again, following in the air, rows and rows of graphic analysis results were displayed in front of Chen Hui, densely packed, but Chen Hui watched with gusto. After watching for a while, a hint of enlightenment appeared in his eyes. Looking at the genetic model of Thor in the air, with a stretch, a stroke, and a pull, the whole model suddenly became very large, almost a room file size. Chen Hui watched while walking among them, as if looking for something. The basic general structure is similar, except that there is a special DNA synthesis in it, which is different from our ordinary people, and all the power comes from the mutation of this special DNA synthesis. In fact, after studying many genes, Chen Hui has more or less found the shadow of this special synthesis. It seems that all super abilities in human beings have extraordinary powers because of the mutation of this synthesis. However, in Thor's gene, this special synthesis seems to have mutated very maturely, and has even become a genetic factor in the blood, which can be perfectly passed on to the next generation and continue to produce benign mutations. Okay. Suddenly Chen Hui's footsteps stopped. He looked into a very hidden corner, and saw a faint light flickering there. This kind of light seemed to be a kind of thunderous light. With a flash in his eyes, Chen Hui walked over without any hesitation. After seeing the flashing thunder thing clearly, Chen Hui narrowed his eyes slightly. It was a distorted object similar to a round ball. Even if the ability was displayed with Kaguya-kun's ultra-precise gene, it could only show this object. Some fuzzy outlines, it is impossible to see what it is. But Chen Hui recognized it immediately. This is the special synthesis object that he had been faintly aware of before. Although I still can't see clearly, it is much clearer than when I used a microscope and other instruments before. Chen Hui looked excited, and immediately looked over carefully to conduct research. Right now, Kaguya-kun has maximized the display of details in the genetic model, so this special synthesis cannot be enlarged, but it can be disassembled a little. He grabbed it. Immediately, the thunder light constantly shining on the synthesis object was caught in his hand, and after a careful look, his eyes showed strangeness. Kaguya, show me the ultra-precise and detailed 3D display model of my divine power chakra. Chen Hui said. Yes, sir. As Kaguya-ji's voice fell, strands of golden light appeared from beside Chen Hui. And in the center of these golden rays, there is an extremely small particle that is constantly rotating, like an atomic nucleus, and the surrounding golden rays are attracted by it. Chen Hui knew that these golden rays were actually his ordinary chakras. And those tiny particles represent divine power chakra. After his ordinary chakra is displayed in a superfine manner, it is just a trace of floating light, but the divine chakra appears in a solid shape, which shows how strong the energy in it is. Chakra is comparable. Chen Hui grabbed a ball of chakra light and compared it with the thunder light in his hand. This thunder light should be the power originally contained in Thor's body, which is similar in nature to my ordinary chakra. So Thor can actually affect the weather and cause thunder and thunder without relying on Mjolnir. Chen Hui analyzed in his heart. 0. It's just that the power of thunder is just the outermost circle of ordinary power, and in the depths, there is an even larger force, but right now, this Power King seems to be attacked by something. It's covered up. It's like a seal. From this point of view, the group of higher power under the power of thunder should belong to Thor's divine power. And the outer layer of seal is the magic power belonging to Odin. It is this magic power that suppresses Thor's divine power cannot function, and he is completely imprisoned. But Chen Hui threw away all the thunder rays. Then he took out the mass of Thor's divine power that was sealed by Odin's magic, and held it in his hand. Originally, he thought that this should be the end, but when he glanced down, he was taken aback suddenly, because he found that, in addition to Thor's sealed divine power, there was also a layer of mysterious power faintly surging at the bottom. There is still a mysterious power. Chen Hui looked at the distorted scene of chaos. Although he couldn't see what was in it, just looking at it from the outline, there was no doubt that it was a mass of the deepest layer, hidden in Thor's gene, a vital part, a special energy. And a strong feeling surged in Chen Hui's heart at this moment, that special energy seemed to be somewhat similar to Odin's remaining original divine power in Mjolnir, but it was more complete and majestic than that original divine power. Could this be the key to your acceptance by Mjolnir? Chapter 87. Mjolnir has been enchanted by Odin, and only those who are recognized by Mjolnir can lift it up. In fact, in Chen Hui's opinion, this kind of thing is pure nonsense. In the Marvel universe, there are many powerful beings who can lift Mjolnir. For example, he took advantage of the loophole and used the power of Odin in the remaining hammer to lift it up. This also made Chen Hui realize that Mjolnir is actually like a super password lock. As long as you know the password, you can lift it at will. In addition, to open this super password lock, it is actually possible to use strong enough brute force. It's just that if you want to use brute force to lift Mjolnir, the strength required is estimated not only to be able to lift a fixed star core that is about to be destroyed, but also to be able to forcibly break Odin's magic power. Chen Hui doesn't have that much brute force. And the divine power chakra is not much left. 167 can only be recognized by Mjolnir by unlocking the password. This third layer of mysterious power possesses the breath of Odin's divine power. There is no doubt that it should be the key for Odin to stay in Thor and allow him to be recognized by Mjolnir. I can even think that this is Odin's stay in Thor. The power of blessing in Thor's body can make Thor burst out with a powerful force far beyond the limit at critical moments. Now I only need to undo the magic seal to restore Thor's power and control over Mjolnir. Chen Hui believed in himself. Although according to Odin's meaning, it is necessary for Thor to understand justice and compassion, and understand the meaning of being a hero before he can lift Mjolnir, but in his opinion, it is Odin's cultivation of his own son, or the cultivation of a son. It's just a trick for a qualified heir. But he, by unlocking all the magic seals, can directly let Thor get all the power. And how to unlock the magic seal? In Chen Hui's view, the so-called magic is a product of biological science multiplied to the extreme. Just like human beings use natural energy, wind energy, tidal energy, etc. to generate electricity, and then use electric energy to build a modern urban civilization, magic is like Odin, a group of powerful humans with supernatural powers, using their own biological energy, such as divine power, a surreal biological science civilization established. That is magic civilization. For example, the magic seal in front of you. Although it is vague, after careful observation, Chen Hui found that this thing is actually quite similar to the circuit diagram. It is a kind of bioenergy program formed by the rotation of divine power, which blocked Thor's divine power. If you want to release Thor's divine power, you must activate this bioenergy level, or destroy it forcibly. This is the treasure hidden in the Thor gene, which is very important to me. A method of high-level utilization of biological energy hidden in the genetic code. Although after tens of thousands of years of development, the genes of Asgard people in God's domain have become extremely suitable for this kind of magical civilization under the continuous inheritance, such as the special DNA synthesis, which is the magical power of those people in God's domain. The key. It is also the key to be different from ordinary people on Earth. But I have chakra in my body, and I can even integrate Odin's divine power and transform it into divine chakra, which proves that my body can actually carry divine power. As long as I figure out how to use the high level of biological energy, it will not only enhance my chakra power, but also greatly improve my strength in all aspects, and even there is a chance to constantly generate divine power chakra. Thinking of this, Chen Hui immediately started a deep-level crazy research. Originally, Chen Hui wanted to study the God gene out of curiosity. But now Chen Hui's research is all about the ultimate goal of constantly generating divine power chakra, and further improving the quality of his chakra. His bones have been completely vibraniumized, they are extremely hard, and their penetrating power is extremely strong, so it is very difficult to improve them. So if he wants to make his ability stronger, so that he can ride in the universe one day, beat Thanos and challenge the celestial team, he must focus on strengthening chakra. With the super-intelligent butler Kaguya-kun, Chen Hui's research has progressed almost by leaps and bounds. Although Odin's sealing magic is powerful, Chen Hui has divine power chakra, he can activate that sealing magic, that is, the bioenergy program in it, and then study the changes in it. It is equivalent to calculating the steps to solve the problem based on the answer, and the difficulty is greatly reduced. In this way, it took almost 5 days for Chen Hui to conquer the first seal, allowing Thor to restore his divine power. At the same time, Chen Hui also had a preliminary understanding of the mystery of the use of bioenergy. It turns out that the power in the human body can be used like this. Interesting, very interesting. In this way, I can be regarded as an ordinary chakra, as long as I turn it into a specific program, I can produce a corresponding unique change. For example, this simulation program. A ball of chakra energy appeared in Chen Hui's hand, and with a thought, the ball of chakra energy suddenly changed, and a figure appeared out of nowhere in the air. This figure, at first glance, is almost exactly the same as Chen Yao. Chen Hui actually used chakra to perform the duplication technique. Duplication, success. A smile appeared on Chen Hui's face. Odin's magic is very mysterious, but if it is compared to a program, then Chen Hui can quickly understand the mystery. And after understanding, Chen Hui played out an idea in his heart that surprised even himself. Can he use this bioenergy program to perform those famous ninjutsu in Naruto? Logically speaking, ninjutsu, like magic, is the use of one's own biological power, and should lead to the same goal by different routes. So Chen Hui began to try boldly. And the first attempt he made was the most basic duplication technique. Seeing that his duplication technique was successful, Chen Hui was extremely excited, and began to try the most basic ninjutsu such as change technique and substitution technique. So in the next day 1.8, Chen Hui studied Odin's second magic seal while studying ninjutsu, almost completely immersed in it, and completely forgot the time. I don't know how long it took, but suddenly one day, in Chen Hui's laboratory, there was a sudden roar, and the whole laboratory was shaken, as if an earthquake had occurred. This scene caused the few pedestrians around to stop one after another, and they all looked over in surprise. And seeing this, he suddenly opened his eyes wide. I saw a huge thing similar to an energy bomb, blasting through the roof with a bang, and then flew into the sky and disappeared. Although the energy bomb did not bombard them, the astonishing energy that erupted from it immediately made everyone tremble. Followed by walking away from Chen Hui's laboratory without hesitation for fear that the whole laboratory will explode in the next moment. Chapter 88. Right now, in the laboratory, all I saw were the wreckage of broken instruments, sparks flying everywhere, and the smoke from fire extinguishers lingering everywhere, making the whole scene look like ruins. But just like this, it's nothing. The most shocking thing is, in this smoke, you can see huge amounts of bone spurs shooting up into the sky. In addition, there are bones twisting and twisting continuously, extending like branches, forming strange shapes one after another. From a distance, it looks like a hideous ring, and strands of energy are surging move. Bones one after another meandered into hideous rings one after another, with several huge bone spurs as the center, continuously extending outwards. In this scene, it looks like a giant bone tree is growing, and the visual effect is amazing. And the energy bomb that blasted through the roof of the entire laboratory was condensed from a huge bone ring in the center of this giant bone tree. At this moment, Chen Hui got up in a little embarrassment, and coughed slightly when he saw the big hole in the roof. I originally wanted to make a super large jade spiral pill, but looking at it like this, it seems that I can't control it very well. This giant bone tree is a chakra energy concentrator condensed by Chen Hui in order to test the super large jade spiral pill. The hideous ring is constructed according to a special bioenergy program. Chakra can be greatly enhanced through it, and it will continue to condense towards the center. When the chakra energy is almost condensed, a super large jade spiral pill will be born from the very center, with unparalleled power. Definitely. The reason for constructing such a huge thing is that Chen Hui's goal is not just to fire one super large jade spiral pill, but to fire multiple bursts. Just like a missile launcher, if you face a large number of enemy attacks in the future, you can use this to continuously launch super large jade spiral pills and bombard them indiscriminately. Chen Hui imagined it and thought it would be very cool. Definitely, this thing is still in the experimental stage right now, and there are many places that need to be improved. Chen Hui jumped down. With a wave of his hand. Immediately, a wave of spiritual power wrapped around chakra and spread away. Wherever it went, wherever his bones existed, they all melted away. Call. Soon the bones disappeared in the entire laboratory, and Chen Hui came to the depths of the laboratory as soon as he moved. In this depth, everything looks neat and tidy. Just as Chen Hui stepped in, Kaguya's voice rang in his ears. The Divine Power Recovery Medicine has been configured. According to the Divine Power Chakra you provided, a total of 2 antidotes have been configured. According to calculations, it is enough for Thor to use. Okay. Chen Hui nodded, put the Power Recovery Potion on my desk, I'll take a shower and change my clothes first. Also, tell Thor to come to my laboratory, oh yes, don't forget to let the cleaning robot clean up outside. Yes, Doctor. Following Kaguya-ji's voice, a delivery robot came out of a configuration room and headed for Chen Hui's office. And Chen Hui went straight to the bathing place. Over the past few days, he has carried out selfless research every day, and finally untied Odin's second magic seal. Using a large number of bioenergy programs obtained by unlocking the magic seal, Chen Hui plus his own divine power chakra, is enough to concoct the recovery medicine for Thor to lift Mjolnir again. And Chen Hui himself, through continuous research, has mastered many bioenergy programs. According to these programs, he can simulate many ninjutsu, but the most powerful one is the super large jade spiral pill reaction device before. The reason why he uses his own as the device material is because his bones and chakra can perfectly integrate, thus condensing the super large jade spiral pill. In addition, this device can be quickly condensed with his thoughts. And when you don't need it, you can also disappear as you like, which is really not too convenient. In fact, Chen Hui also has some other bone response devices for mass destruction ninjutsu. Although some of them are not as powerful as the Super Jade Helix pill, they are extremely wide in scope, and they are an excellent means to target large-scale enemy advances. Soon, Chen Hui came to the office after taking a shower. On his desk, there were 2 tubes of golden liquid medicine. Chen Hui picked them up, took a closer look, and nodded with satisfaction. Okay, in this way, I have fulfilled my promise. But Chen Hui narrowed his eyes, revealing a gleam of light. According to Thor's personality, once he recovers Thor's power, he will become arrogant and conceited. I want him to take me to God's domain. He will most likely not agree, so I want to keep a quality hand. God's domain, he must go. Only with Thor's gene, he still can't research the method to generate a steady stream of divine power chakra. Only with Odin's blood gene can he get a breakthrough. Thinking about it, Chen Hui only picked up one of the divine power recovery medicines, and ordered Kaguya-ji to put away the other. A recovery potion is enough for Thor to restore some of Thor's power. However, if you want to fully recover, you must need 2 copies together, otherwise, the effect of the medicine will be unstable and will gradually fade until Thor loses the power of Thor again. Okay. Suddenly, a tingling feeling came over Chen Hui's mind. He frowned. 403, it was spider telepathy. And the induction is very strong, stronger than ever before. This is how the same thing. Chen Hui frowned, suddenly an idea flashed in his mind, as if he had thought of something. Could it be? Loki sent the destroyer down to kill Thor. He knew that in order to seize the throne, Loki not only wanted to kill Odin, but also wanted to kill Thor, so he used means to destroy a super weapon armor forged by Odin sent to Earth to kill Thor. It was also this destroyer that aroused the sense of justice in Thor's heart, thus gaining Mjolnir's recognition again. Therefore, although Chen Hui devoted himself to research in the laboratory, he still sent Hammer to keep an eye on the changes in the sky, in case the arrival of the destroyer ruined his good deeds. Never let Thor meet the destroyer, otherwise, all my plans will go to waste. Wanting to come here, Chen Hui gathered his chakra and carefully sensed the strong source of danger. I saw vaguely, a huge human-shaped armor with glaring silver appeared in my mind. Seeing this, Chen Hui's expression was solemn. It really is the destroyer. Whoosh! His figure moved without any hesitation, and with the appearance of the black windbreaker on his body, he quickly left the laboratory and headed towards the direction where the destroyer came. Chapter 89. Boss, that unknown creature that looks like armor has landed in the eastern area of Queens. I have sent people to rush there. In addition, Mr. Wang is relatively fast, and has already rushed to the scene. It is estimated that he will arrive soon. Hammer's voice came from the communicator. Chen Hui sent Hammer to keep an eye on the changes in the air, and also let the whip be with Hammer to prevent Hammer's combat power from being too weak and being easily eliminated. At this moment, Hammer found the trace of the destroyer, and immediately contacted Chen Hui, and sent people to the place where the destroyer came immediately. Okay. But you don't need to fight hard, you just need to attract the attention of the destroyer and try to lure him away from the eastern area. Chen Hui ordered. He knew that Thor's current direction was in the east of Queens. In order to wait for Chen Hui's research, Thor brought Jane to Queens, where Hammer sent people to take care of her. Now that the destroyer appeared in the east area, it was obvious that the perception was in Thor's direction and wanted to destroy him. Naturally, Chen Hui couldn't let the destroyer meet Thor, so first of all, he had to attract the destroyer away and try to stay away from Thor. Definitely, with the huge size of the destroyer, it will definitely attract the attention of many people. Thor is not blind, and he will definitely notice it in the end, so Chen Hui must put this thing before the destroyer meets Thor. Get rid of it. At this moment, in a shopping mall in the east area, Thor is going shopping with Jane. Bored. Thor is a restless master. Although Chen Hui promised him to help him regain his divine power and regain Mjolnir's recognition, and he was indeed stunned by Chen Hui for a while, Chen Hui's research is not a day or two. These days, after calming down a bit, Thor felt that he had to rely on himself to get Mjolnir's approval. Definitely, the most important reason is that he is really impatient to wait. He wants to go back to New Mexico, keep trying, see if he can lift his hammer. It's just that since he entered Chen Hui's wolf den, Thor still wants to go out, which is simply wishful thinking. Although Chen Hui did not stop Thor from going back on the surface, he secretly sent Hammer to use various methods to make it almost impossible for Thor to move. Can only honestly stay in Queens. So depressed Thor can only spend time by going shopping with Jane every day. Hey! While wandering boredly, Thor suddenly moved his eyes and looked to the east. This energy is the destroyer who guards Asgard. How did the destroyer come to the earth? Thor frowned. Logically speaking, there was nothing special, and the destroyer would never leave Asgard. Unless it was sent by his father, but why did his father send the destroyer to the earth? Seeing him bored and lonely, want to play with him? Thor was puzzled. At this moment, there was an uproar in the crowd. Thor looked over, and saw 4 people in strange costumes appearing from the crowd, especially one woman, who was wearing shiny silver armor and had a sword behind her, like an ancient female warrior. Seeing him, a look of surprise appeared on the female warrior's face. Look! I found him! Thor's here! Behind the female warrior are 3 strange-looking men. Among them, the most obvious one is an extremely fat-bearded rough man holding a battle axe. The other 2, one is a blonde elegant man wearing a green cloak with a rapier pinned to his waist, and the other is a black knight soft armor, black-haired man who looks taciturn. At this moment, when the 3 of them heard the voice of the female warrior, their eyes lit up immediately, and they looked in Thor's direction. When they saw Thor, their faces instantly showed ecstasy, and they ran over quickly. Haha! Thor, why did you run so far? It's easy for us to find. The fat bearded rough man with the big axe was laughing as he ran. Thor was taken aback. Then there was ecstasy on the same face. Sif, Hogon, Vestag, Fondrel, why are you four here? These four people are his good friends in God's domain, the brave warriors in Asgard. Especially the female warrior, named Sif, who was Thor's childhood sweetheart, ran to Thor at the moment, saw Jane beside Thor, was a little stunned, but soon got up and said, Thor, your father is in trouble. You fell into a deep sleep, and now the power of the entire Asgard is represented by Loki. He sent the destroyer down to attempt to assassinate you. When we heard the news, we all came down secretly. What? Thor's face changed when he heard this. Loki, he wants to kill me. Boom. At this moment, an extremely violent burst of powerful laser energy burst out from a distance, instantly destroying a combat helicopter in the sky. The roar was too strong. Although it was far away from the shopping mall, it still attracted the attention of countless people. My God! What happened? It's an armor-shaped unknown monster attacking. Everyone run quickly. People around frantically ran to the distance, and the whole shopping mall was in chaos for a while. Seeing this, Thor frowned, and quickly ran towards the destroyer without any hesitation. The faces of Sif and others changed. Thor, what are you doing? I want to stop the destroyer, it comes from Asgard, I have the responsibility to stop it from attacking humans. Thor exclaimed. Sif and the others looked at each other, but in desperation, they had no choice but to follow Thor. But soon they stopped, because at this moment, a group of white cobwebs suddenly shot out from the side, sticking to their feet, especially Thor at the front, who was directly tied up by the cobwebs. Not to mention running away, standing still is a problem. Swish! At the same time, two figures came out in front of Thor. A figure was dressed in red and blue tights, with the spider logo on its chest, and another was covered in green armor with a hideous demon helmet on its head. From the eyes of its helmet, a green light flickered, and even let out a piercing, shrill laugh, which seemed to save people extremely. These two figures, of course, are Yu Wang Hao, are Peter and Harry. Now that the destroyer has appeared, Chen Hui will naturally not forget that Sif Hu will come down from Asgard to help Thor and the three Asgard warriors, so he informs Peter and Harry to help him block these people until he solves the destroyer. Spider-Man? Green Goblin Man! Jane exclaimed when she saw these two people. Jane, do you know these two? With the help of Sif, Thor got rid of the cobweb on his body, and turned around at this moment, looking at Jane in doubt. Okay. Jane nodded, the two of them are superheroes in Queens, New York, and everyone in the United States knows it. Hey beauty, I like what you said, but let me remind you, not only the whole of the United States knows us, but the whole world. Peter waved his hands and said, while looking at Harry beside him, you said, right? My dear Mr. Green Goblin, oh wait, I think your helmet seems to be a little crooked. Chapter 90. Really? Harry waved his helmet, maybe it's because the rave party started too late last night. Oh, really, today is the weekend, a rare day of rest, don't those villains look at the calendar when they come out to work? Stop complaining, brother, we are superheroes, and we have to guard our dear New York 24 hours a day. As the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Peter was full of enthusiasm. Okay. As long as you're happy. Harry yawned. The corners of Thor's mouth twitched when they saw this. What the hell, boom! At this moment, the roar sounded again in the distance, and everyone's expressions changed. Thor didn't have the slightest hesitation, and was about to continue heading towards the destroyer. But at this moment... Laugh! Another cobweb shot at him. Thor's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick. He was not shot this time, but he looked at the two of Peter with gloomy eyes. He couldn't help saying angrily, since you two are superheroes, what are you doing to stop us? Seeing this 990, Sif and the three Asgard warriors took up their weapons and approached Peter and the two of them. You are right, big brother. I can see that you are not a bad guy. I shouldn't stop you, but I have already stood here to stop you. Since the fact has already happened, I can't undo it, so why don't we play a game here? How about the guess what I'm thinking game? Trust me, You're going to love this game. Peter waved his hand and said, definitely, you can also choose to listen to me tell the story of why I came here. It's really a bit tortuous to say it started when I bought a Mexican egg burrito on the side of the road. Thor heard the words, his face became more gloomy. He looked at the four of Sif. Immediately, the four of them knew each other, and at the same time the figure approached, faintly forming a circle around Peter and Harry. Hey, Spider-Man, I think you're probably PG them off with your chatter. Harry turned his head to look at Peter. Hey, Green Goblin Man, don't slander me, I didn't say a few words at all. Okay, it must be because of your demon helmet that they think you are a bad person, so they don't want to stay with us, CCFB. How many times have I told you? Shua. Just then, a tomahawk slashed at Peter. This damn stinky spider is so annoying, I want to chop him up. The fat-bearded rough man swung his tomahawk and roared. Peter dodges quickly. What's a damned stinky spider? Hey, this fat gentleman who likes cosplay medieval warriors, I think you should pay attention to your wording when you speak. Peter stretched out his hand, and immediately a ball of cobweb shot precisely on the mouth of the bearded rough man. Oh my god, the world is finally quiet. Peter sighed, then continued to look at Harry. Where did I say that? Oh yes, how many times have I told you, Green Goblin Man, you need to change your ugly demon helmet, otherwise you will often scare to the children, you know, you give me a headache, I can't bear to complain, and more importantly, you still wear it crooked today, my god. Swish swish swish. Before he could finish speaking, another sword, another axe, and another mace all chopped towards Peter. Smelly spider, shut up. Hey, you guys are not fair, I am your friendly neighbor Spider-Man, the fried chicken hero who helped Justice. In order to protect you from the attack of that armored monster, I gave up the delicious Mexican egg rolls and came here specially. How can you repay your kindness like this? Besides, why do you only attack me alone? Oh, don't cut my A. At this moment, on the side of the destroyer, Hammer and the others had already fought against the destroyer, but it was more like being crushed than fighting. Hammer and his group were beaten and fled in a panic. Although they attracted some attention from the destroyer, they slowed down, looking for Thor's footsteps, but the situation is still not ideal. Wow! Crack! The whip rope was covered with steel armor, and the electric whip in his hand was swung over and over again, but the armor on the destroyer was very hard, and the whip rope's electric whip was almost useless to it. Not even a trace could be left. Boom! With a sudden sound, under the rapid impact of the destroyer, the whip rope was knocked out and fell to the ground, creating a big hole. At the same time, on the face of the destroyer, blazing energy rays surged, emitting a raging laser, and bombarded towards the whip. Seeing this, Whiplash hurriedly dodged, but at this moment he found that his power unit was damaged, and once the power unit was damaged, he could only face the attack of the destroyer and forcibly resist the terrifying laser energy. Oops! Whiplash was anxious. He had been bombarded with this laser energy once before, and it directly killed him, and the power of the armor shrank by 50% in an instant. If he was bombarded again now, he would definitely die. When the whip was in despair, pale golden white bones suddenly spread from the ground around him, turning into a fan-shaped wall of bone spurs, resisting the destroyer's laser energy attack. Seeing this, Biansuo was taken aback for a moment, then immediately showed ecstasy, and looked back suddenly. I saw Chen Hui dancing wildly in a black windbreaker all over his body. With the movement of his figure, he came to the side of the whip in an instant. How is it? I'm fine, boss, but the power of this destroyer is too strong, we can only delay him to this point at most. Whip Cable said. Okay. Chen Hui nodded, all of you stand down, leave the rest to me. Okay, boss. The whips took the lead, and quickly retreated. Now that Chen Hui has returned, their mission has been completed, and the next thing they need to do is to give Chen Hui a warning. Call. Chen Hui looked at the destroyer. Seeing the destroyer at a close distance has a completely different visual effect than using spider telepathy perception destroyer. Chen Hui only took a look at it for a while, especially when he felt a magical aura surging from the destroyer, which was the expression on his face. There was a slight change, and there was a dignified heart. This destroyer is very strong. And obviously, there is Odin's magic bonus, which makes the destroyer even stronger. But, it's good to be strong. The stronger the opponent is, the more excited Chen Hui will be. At this moment, the fighting spirit surged up in his heart. Just when the destroyer noticed him and attacked him, his figure moved, and he came to the destroyer in an instant. At the same time, he pressed his left shoulder with his right hand, and he pulled out a bone sword. Immediately after, he fell on the destroyer's body. Chapter 91. Clang. Sparks splashed in all directions. The vibranium bone sword was originally extremely sharp, very penetrating, and also had the addition of Chen Hui chakra. As it slashed on the destroyer, its indestructible armor suddenly disappeared in the sparks. A very clear white mark appeared. Okay. Seeing this, Chen Hui's eyes burst out with brilliance. With the sharpness of the vibranium bone sword, only a white mark was drawn. Chen Hui knows that the destroyer, as the ancient armor forged by Odin, is actually a deadly weapon with extremely powerful destructive power, and the original intention of Odin forging this weapon is to fight against the strongest in the universe. Groob. Definitely, the destroyer right now is obviously impossible to be the kind of destroyer with the power to destroy the world. According to Chen Hui's guess, since Odin has the ability to forge the ancient armor against the celestial group, he naturally has the ability to forge the destroyer that is similar to the status of a soldier. The current destroyer should be at the soldier level. Originally, Chen Hui thought that this soldier-level destroyer, no matter how strong he was, would be easily torn apart by the powerful penetrating power of the vibranium bone sword. But I didn't expect that not only did it not penetrate, but a white mark appeared. This surprised him. But the more it was like this, the more his fighting spirit was soaring. Come again. Chen Hui has a strong fighting spirit in his heart. One blow fails, and then another blow, and each blow is stronger than the last blow. As long as his fighting spirit keeps going, then his attack power will constantly increase with the battle, and sooner or later there will be a sword, and finally pierce the indestructible armor of the destroyer. Boom! 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 The destroyer's figure suddenly retreated. However, in the process of retreating, he didn't stop attacking because of Chen Hui's fierce attack. He grabbed it with a big hand, and with the violent howling of the air, huge amounts of power instantly enveloped Chen Hui's head, and then pressed down. Pang! It was shot directly on Chen Hui's body. However, the corner of Chen Hui's mouth curled into a smile. Just when the steel giant hand patted him, he disappeared instantly. In situ, only a white bone was left, which dissipated with the wind. Substitution. Naturally, Chen Hui has already mastered ninjutsu that is extremely useful in battle, such as body substitute. Not only that, he also made some changes and enhancements to this substitute technique. Like this moment. Although the white bones dissipated, they did not completely disappear. Instead, they turned into many fine white bones and fine sand, which adhered to the destroyer's body surface. With the burst of chakra energy, there was a boom, and then it exploded one after another. Boom! These fine bones of sand contain some principles of Chen Hui's killing the ashes together. But the power of the sudden explosion should not be underestimated. Call. After blasting the destroyer away, Chen Hui's offensive still didn't stop. Bone vein. Dance of iron flower. Flower style. He quickly came to the back of the destroyer, the vibranium bones on his arm spread out, wrapping the bone sword in a spiral shape, and turned into a spiral spear in an instant, with the cold light of the Liao people shining at the tip. Before the destroyer had yet the moment it stabilized, it suddenly attacked him. And it's where Chen Hui has been attacking before. Clang! The roar of the explosion sounded. At the moment of the sound, a slight click sound was faintly heard, followed by a dark crack on the silver armor of the destroyer, which spread. Chen Hui's eyes lit up when he saw this. Without the slightest hesitation, take advantage of his illness to kill him. Straight out the palm, from the palm, a series of fine grey sharp bone spurs popped out, accompanied by huge amounts of chakra energy surge, rushed out in an instant, and slammed into the cracked black gap on the destroyer's body. This is the official killing of ashes together. If he wanted to destroy the destroyer in a short time, Chen Hui naturally couldn't fight the opponent for a long time, so he had been gathering all the ashes from the beginning, and even, in order to ensure that his CO killing ashes could deal a single blow to the destroyer. The effect of killing, he also incorporated a trace of divine power chakra into it. Seeing the success at this moment, his figure flickered, and he retreated instantly. And almost the moment he left. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion sounded from the destroyer's armor, and the entire sky seemed to shake. With the destroyer as the center, a circle of energy ripples visible to the naked eye spread out on the ground, and the stratum was directly affected by this. A wave of energy was opened, and it turned into a shockingly huge pit. As for the destroyer, in the explosion, countless dense black cracks spread across his body. Finally, with a low growl, it exploded, and the whole body, under Chen Hui's ashes, was shattered into pieces and scattered in all directions, and the steel head fell on the ground with a clang sound. On the ground, it rolled a few times before it stopped. At the same time, in the shopping mall, Thor, who was directly lying on the ground by the earth-shattering roar, raised his head in a cloud of smoke, his eyes filled with disbelief. The sound of the explosion, could it be that the destroyer was destroyed? My God! Who the hell is it that has such a powerful force? Call. After the smoke cleared, Chen Hui went directly to the giant pit. When he saw the only remaining steel head of the destroyer, his eyes moved slightly. This destroyer's steel head may have some research value. Although it is not related to biology, I think Tony will like it. Wanting here, he was about to put away the head and leave. But at this moment... Okay. Chen Hui's gaze changed suddenly, and he looked at the steel head of the destroyer in his hand. I saw one of the fiery energy rays bursting up suddenly, bombarding him directly 3 times. Chapter 92. Humph. Still want to hold back? Chen Hui snorted coldly. This destroyer still has a little consciousness left, which makes him a little unexpected, but just relying on this little consciousness, the energy beam condensed can't pose any threat to him. Wow! At the moment when the energy beam bombarded, Chen Hui raised his hand and grabbed the energy beam. Boom! A dull roar burst from the palm of his hand. Following that, a circle of smoke and dust whirled away from Chen Hui's feet. The ground that was already sunken collapsed again, and the surrounding earth trembled violently again at this moment. And under this intense energy beam, it can be seen that the skin on Chen Hui's palm is rapidly melting, revealing the white bones with a faint golden light in it. The whole scene looks extremely shocking, even the extremely terrifying 793. But Chen Hui didn't frown at all, even at this moment, with a flash of his gaze, he exerted force with his arm, and suddenly grabbed the blazing energy beam, and then directly extended it into the head of the destroyer. If you want to control the tyrannical destroyer, you must give the destroyer vitality. There is no doubt that the vitality of this destroyer is endowed by the evil god Loki, so it is so cunning, and there is an ambush at the last moment. Although this ambush is like tickling to me, but if you want to sneak attack me, even if you are an evil god, you can't leave easily without paying some price. A sense of cruelty welled up in Chen Hui's heart. He had wanted to meet the evil god Loki for a long time. He had destroyed the destroyer, and he thought that Loki would leave, but he didn't expect that he would sneak up on him, which just gave him a golden opportunity. Clang! At the moment, the fighting spirit in Chen Hui's heart was extremely awe-inspiring, burning like a scorching sun. The moment his palm reached into the head of the destroyer, the chakras all over Chen Hui's body exploded violently, enveloping his mind, integrating his violent fighting spirit, and pouring into his palm, turning into a group of ferocious flames penetrated into the destroyer's head, the remaining trace of consciousness. Boom! At this moment, there seemed to be a roar in my mind. Chen Hui's mind moved, he could only feel the darkness in the remaining consciousness of the destroyer, and in this darkness, a sense of tyranny spread, trying to attack the spiritual thoughts that he had infiltrated. But this tyranny, in Chen Hui's powerful fighting spirit, was like a joke, the slightest movement would devour it. However, the remaining consciousness of the destroyer is just a young man. What Chen Hui really wants to infiltrate is not the destroyer, but, that is far away in the realm of the gods, Loki's remaining consciousness. Okay. Sensing Chen Hui's violent spiritual thoughts, a light yell sounded suddenly from the depths of the destroyer's consciousness hole. Immediately, Chen Hui felt that a cold force permeated his mind, which actually made his mind freeze suddenly at this moment, as if frozen. Chen Hui snorted coldly. His fighting spirit is boundless, which also means his spiritual power is boundless, just like a blazing scorching sun, plus Loki is far away in the realm of the gods. If he wants to rely on just a trace of remnants lingering in the consciousness of the destroyer, it is impossible to threaten him. Therefore, after a cold snort, as the flames representing his thoughts danced wildly, the feeling of stagnation disappeared in an instant. Definitely, although Loki's remnant can't do anything to him, similarly, Chen Hui can't cause much threat to Loki. But Chen Hui's consciousness infiltrated, and he came here specially to meet Loki for a while, so how can we not teach Loki an unforgettable lesson? So at this moment, without the slightest hesitation, he directly took out 2 of the remaining 5 divine power chakras and integrated them into his consciousness. Almost instantly. Boom! His consciousness was like a volcanic eruption, the originally violent flames suddenly exploded like crazy. At the same time, everything in the entire Dark Destroyer consciousness space lit up, in the deepest place, a figure wearing a golden crown and a green cloak appeared. This figure is exactly Loki. Or to be more precise, it belongs to Loki's remaining thoughts. As an evil god who is very good at spiritual illusion, it is not difficult to keep his thoughts in the consciousness of the destroyer. Seeing Chen Hui's thoughts seeping in, he had a funny look on his face. It's interesting, someone can forcibly infiltrate the mind of the destroyer, and still find me. Loki looked at Chen Hui, and said with a faint smile, "Tell me your name, you are qualified, let me know your name." "Really?" Chen Hui laughed, "Then listen carefully, my name is Daddy. You are the evil god Loki, right? When you call me in the future, please call me Daddy directly, you are qualified to call me like that. You are courting death." Loki's face changed when he heard that. There was a murderous look in his eyes, and a strong and cold spiritual energy suddenly burst out from his remaining thoughts, penetrating into Chen Hui's consciousness, trying to control Chen Hui's consciousness. "Boy, you are very arrogant, but arrogant people usually end up very miserable. Be my slave." Loki sneers. In his opinion, although the other party's ideas are good, the use of mental power is really too rough. Although he doesn't have many remaining ideas, he can use illusions to turn the other party around and become his own slave. But it didn't take long before Loki's face changed suddenly. Because he found that the illusion power that he had infiltrated towards Chen Hui quickly dissipated before even touching him. At the same time, a powerful divine power exploded from the opponent's mind. It opened, turned into 2 golden fire dragons, and rushed towards him. The strength is so strong that it directly crushes him completely, and he can't even resist. How is this possible? How can there be divine power in your consciousness? Impossible. Impossible. And this power has the breath of that old man Odin. Who are you? Loki's face changed wildly, and he backed away abruptly. At the same time, a vortex of 1.3 appeared behind him, without any hesitation, and wanted to evacuate Remnant. But Chen Hui will let him leave easily. Boom! The 2 fire dragons transformed by the divine power chakra, with his thoughts, instantly increased in speed, and at the moment Loki was about to escape, they swallowed them instantly, and Chen Hui completely integrated them into his body without even screaming. In mental power, it has been simplified. At the same time, out of consciousness, Chen Hui's eyes opened suddenly, and a psychedelic feeling flowed in the pupils, faintly carrying a kind of evil spirit, but soon the evil spirit disappeared, leaving only the psychedelic feeling, was restrained by Chen Hui, and finally disappeared. Call. Taking a long breath, Chen Hui showed a tinge of joy. "I didn't expect that Loki's remnants contain a lot of spiritual energy, and there is a bioenergy program that represents illusion. In this way, in the future, I will not only ninjutsu can be performed, and even illusion can be performed." Chapter 93. As the destroyer was wiped out, the change came and went quickly. Before the New York police arrived at the scene, Chen Hui had already wiped out the destroyer, and returned to the Ulm laboratory. Soon after, Thor received a message from Chen Hui, asking him to come to the laboratory for divine power recovery experiments. "Thor, are you sure that the so-called Dr. Chen Hui can help you regain your divine power and pick up your hammer again? Are you kidding me?" On the way, Sif looked at Thor with wide eyes. "Thor, with all due respect, don't you think this idea is very stupid?" With a stabbing sword pinned to his waist, the blonde and elegant man named Fondrel sneered, "How can a mere mortal help you recover your divine power? Besides, this is a magic seal placed by your father. If a mortal can help you undo the magic sealing, doesn't it mean that he is as powerful as the Father of God?" "Fondrel, I know what you mean, but that Dr. Chen Hui did help me lift the hammer, although only for a moment," Thor said helplessly, "and now he has developed a potion that can help me restore my divine power. No matter what, let's go experiment and talk about it first." "Okay." Sif shrugged and said, "I hope that Dr. Chen Hui is not a magician, otherwise, I will definitely make him look good." "That's right, Thor, if that Dr. Chen Hui is playing tricks on you, then I, Vestag, will never be polite to him, and I must let him taste the power of my axe." On the side, Vostage, who is fat and holding a battle axe, said. Soon, Thor, his girlfriend Jane, and 4 Asgard fighters including Sif came to Chen Hui's laboratory. Thor, sit down. A smile appeared on the corner of Chen Hui's mouth, and he took out the tube of pale golden divine power recovery medicine. This is the divine power recovery medicine I finally developed based on your genes, but Thor, let me put my ugly words first, there is no such medicine in the world. You can eat free lunch, I promised to help you recover your divine power, but I didn't promise to help you recover your divine power for free, so, now it's time to talk about my conditions. Okay. Thor frowned when he heard this, and looked at Chen Hui with a gloomy expression, are you kidding me? Wow! At the same time, the 4 Asgard warriors around Thor stood up one after another and surrounded Chen Hui with unfriendly expressions. Humph, mortal boy, do you know the consequences of fooling our gods? Vestag waved his battle axe and looked at Chen Hui with a sneer. Thor, don't do this. Jane was startled when she saw this scene, and immediately stopped Thor. Hey, Miss Mortal, this is a man's battle. If you stop Thor like this in God's domain, he will divorce you no matter how much he loves you. As an Asgard warrior, you can't just tolerate other people's deception, especially you are still a mortal, you don't need to protect this mortal who is full of lies. Fondrel drew out the stabbing sword at his waist, looked at Jane, and said calmly. No, Mr. Fondrel, you misunderstood. Jane waved her hand and said, I'm doing this for your own good, trust me, don't provoke Dr. Chen Hui, otherwise you will be the ones who suffer. Hey? You're looking down on. Ka. Before Fondrel finished speaking, countless muzzles of guns suddenly appeared from around the laboratory, and at the same time, many infrared rays shot at the eyebrows of the 4 Asgard soldiers, and at this moment, with a bang, the figure of the whip appeared in front of the laboratory. Not far away, the whole body is covered with steel armor. At the same time, behind him, there are also several steel figures, which are several steel robots that can be controlled remotely. This scene made the 4 of them in Asgard stiffen suddenly. When Thor saw this, he showed helplessness and a wry smile, obviously he had seen this scene a long time ago. Mr. Fondrel. Chen Hui smiled and said, I respect you, so I admit that you are the so-called gods, but please don't show your face, your tail is up to the sky, it's not good. Oh, by the way, Chen Hui looked at the fat Vorstag, the 3 warriors of Asgard, right? I know that you Asgardians have 3 to 4 times the muscle density of our Earthlings, and have long stamina. The vitality is extremely strong, with extremely powerful strength, and the ability to fight is also very good, even our bullets can't break your skin, but... Chen Hui glanced at the taciturn Japanese-looking Hogan, and finally looked at Sif. Believe me, my special armor-piercing bullets are not ordinary bullets, as long as they touch your skin, they will definitely hurt you. In an instant, a bloody hole pierced through between your eyebrows. And the speed is so fast that you have no time to raise your weapons. So. Chen Hui said, his voice gradually turned cold, all of you, let me settle down, otherwise, from now on, you don't need to go out of the door of my laboratory. You. Upon hearing this, Vostage immediately widened his eyes, a surge of anger gushed out, and the fat on his face trembled with anger. There, Vestag. At this moment, Jin Er's voice sounded. He stopped Vestag, who wanted to go crazy, and although he was slightly angry, as Thor, and after this experience in the mortal world, his temperament has calmed down a lot. Looking at Chen Hui, he said in a low voice, you want to what to do? Is it not enough for me to give you my blood? Thor, I think I have to correct a perception for you. Chen Hui said slowly, your blood is just a material for making divine power recovery medicine, you have to give it, definitely, don't worry, I won't make any unreasonable demands, I want you to promise me, very soon simple, that is. Take me to your god realm, Asgard. Oh. Thor's expression was 320 when he heard that, you want to go to God's domain? What are you doing there? What do you think I'm going to do? Chen Hui smiled, I'm just very curious about what kind of place God's domain is, you can understand that I want to go to God's domain, to Asgard where you live, to visit and play, I think this condition should not be too much, right? Upon hearing this, Thor took a deep look at Chen Hui. Finally nodded and said, okay, I promise you. Wise choice. Chen Hui said, if that's the case, then let's start the divine power recovery experiment. As he spoke, Chen Hui put a tube of divine power recovery medicine in his hand into the injection gun, and injected it into Thor's body. Not for a while. Chi. All of a sudden, thunder and lightning burst out from Thor's body. An obvious huge force surged from his body, and the surrounding test tubes shook one by one, and some even fell to the ground with a clang and shattered. I feel it, the power of Thor. My warhammer, come back. A flash of lightning flashed across Thor's eyes, and with a low drink in his mouth, he raised his hand suddenly. At the same time, rumbling lightning sounded in the sky over New Mexico. In the huge crater, Mjolnir, who was motionless on the ground, shook violently, flew into the sky with a whoosh, and disappeared. Chapter 94. Boom! Black clouds billowed over New York, and thunder rang out. At first, the sky was blue, but suddenly it became lightning and thunder. This scene caused many people to stop and look up, with strange expressions on their faces. Look, what's that? I don't know who exclaimed. Everyone looked over. In the air, a black shadow quickly penetrated the clouds at supersonic speed, tore through the air, and rushed towards the direction of Queens with a violent howl. After arriving in Queens, it was even faster, almost in the blink of an eye, it arrived at Chen Hui's laboratory, rushed in towards the main entrance, and fell into Thor's hands. This, exactly Mjolnir. Boom! The deafening thunder, with the frantic black wind rolled up, raged from outside Chen Hui's laboratory the moment Mjolnir fell into Thor's hands. At this moment, the entire laboratory will collapse because of this. At the same time, on Thor's arm, what looked like scale-like gauntlets condensed in the flash of thunder. Around his waist, a power belt was also condensed, and with it as the center, bursts of thunder rays extended, spreading all over Thor's body, turning into a set of battle armor, and behind him was a red cloak condensed standing up, making Thor at this moment like an incarnation of a god's mansion, extremely majestic. Call. In the end, the light of thunder finally subsided. Thor let out a long breath, feeling that all the strength in his body had recovered, his heart was filled with excitement, and his face was even more joyful, and beside him, Sif and the 3 Asgard warriors were also smile. Great, Thor, you finally regained your strength. Z said. Is this your usual attire? Jane looked at Thor strangely. It's almost like this. Thor looked at Jane and smiled. Chen Hui also looked at Thor strangely at this moment. He knew that Thor's outfit of Thor was not just for show, for example, the iron gloves on his arms that looked like scales were actually cast by dwarf craftsmen in God's domain specially for Thor, and matched with the equipment used by Mjolnir. It can make Thor not feel tired no matter how he swings Mjolnir. In addition, the belt around his waist is called the power belt, which can make Thor's body several times stronger than usual. Definitely, although his eyes were strange, from Chen Hui's point of view, all of this was useless. Without his second tube of divine power recovery liquid, all of this would disappear again in a short time. Okay, Thor, I think we can go to God's domain. Chen replied. Definitely can. Thor looked at Chen Hui, with a faint sternness flickering in his eyes. I will keep my promise, but first of all, let me teach you a good lesson. If I don't teach you, I can't help it. Comfortable. As he said that, he slammed a hammer at Chen Hui. When the 4 of Asgard saw this, their eyes lit up suddenly, especially the fat Vestag, who cheered even more, wishing to see Chen Hui's embarrassment after being taught by Thor. Chen Hui was not in a hurry, as if he had expected this long ago. At the moment Thor slammed it down, he stretched out his palm, his 5 fingers turned into claws, and grabbed Thor's wrist suddenly, followed by a huge force, which made Thor groan in pain, and his body became even tighter. It was a stagger, and he fell to the ground in an instant. Mjolnir also fell down. But it didn't fall to the ground, but was caught by another hand halfway, and the owner of this hand was naturally Chen Hui. He raised Mjolnir and slammed his foot on Thor's arm, looking icy cold. Thor, let me remind you, don't give you shame. Also, the divine power recovery medicine I gave you is only half of it. If there is no other tube of recovery medicine from me, the power of Thor on your body will disappear sooner or later. Disappeared again. As Chen Hui said, his eyes narrowed, and he looked around at the 4 people in Asgard. So, put away your small thoughts and don't provoke me, otherwise, you will bear the consequences. Chen Hui's voice was so cold and powerful that it directly shocked the 4 of Sif and Asgard. Especially seeing the scene where Chen Hui was holding Mjolnir, Navostag swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his eyes showed a horrified light, and there was already a slight look of fear in his eyes when he looked at Chen Hui. "Dr. Chen Hui, I'm sorry, Thor didn't mean it, he just has a bad temper, I hope you don't mind." Jane also looked nervous at the moment, and looked at Thor while talking. Thor quickly apologized to Dr. Chen Hui. When Thor heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched immediately. Apologize? This was absolutely impossible for the original him, but now Chen Hui, Nyo Hao, is too powerful, and he also feels that the power of Thor in his body has a tendency to become unstable. Coupled with Jane's persuasion, he finally had to be convinced and said, "Dr. Chen Hui, I'm sorry, I was reckless. Just pay attention next time." Chen Hui said lightly. "Put down Mjolnir, then walk down the lab to the shop. I'll tidy up first, and take out the other tube of divine power recovery potion by the way, and you guys, prepare to open the teleportation channel leading to God's domain. I hope that when I come out, you have already prepared everything." After finishing speaking, his figure disappeared into the depths of the laboratory, leaving Thor and the others standing in place alone. His heart was shaken, especially the 3 Asgard warriors and Sif, who stared blankly at Chen Hui, as if they hadn't recovered yet. Chapter 95. Clang. The iron door of the laboratory opened. Chen Hui walked out from inside. Tuo'er and the others were already waiting outside. Under their feet, a circle of totems faintly glowed. Seeing this, Chen Hui's eyes lit up, especially when he saw the mysterious lines in the totem. He showed an expression of interest. This should be the magic totem teleport to God's domain. Chen Hui secretly praised in his heart, it really is extremely mysterious. It contains a mysterious and extremely complicated bioenergy program, which can allow the human body to communicate with the power of space. Okay. Suddenly a bold idea appeared in Chen Hui's mind. You know, Gwen's hands can control the power of space. And until now, the range of divergence is constantly increasing. If he integrates this mysterious teleportation-like bioenergy program with Gwen's space power, will it be possible, through Gwen's space power, he can teleport to God's domain at will. And anytime, anywhere, come and go between the earth and God or whatever you want. This idea flashed from my mind and I couldn't get it out. Heimdall. Did you hear that? Pick us up. At this moment, Tuo'er's voice sounded. He had shouted many times, but there was no movement in the air. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help looking at each other for a while, not knowing what to do. Seeing this, Chen Hui's eyes flashed. He knows that Heimdall is the patron saint of Asgard and the guardian of Bifrost, who has the ability similar to acute eyes and acute ears. As long as he hears Thor's call, he will open Bifrost and take Tuor and others back to the ferry. But now there is no response. From this point of view, it should be the Frost Titan that attacked Asgard and trapped Heimdall, unable to move for a while. Definitely, it's just temporarily unable to act. With Heimdall's ability, he still has the power to deal with several Frost Titans and open Bifrost teleportation. Chen Hui is not too worried about this. Instead, the Frost Titan attacked Asgard, which made him a little happy. In this way, he just took advantage of the chaos to get Odin's blood and Odin's genes. As long as he obtains Odin's gene, then his goal of going to God's domain has almost been achieved, and what happens next has nothing to do with him, just leave the burden and leave. And how to leave? Don't worry about this. Heimdall originally couldn't control Bifrost, but needed a sword similar to a key. As long as he got this sword, he could leave God's domain and return to Earth. Wow! Just as he was thinking, suddenly the clouds in the sky rolled up, and a rainbow of light penetrated the clouds and spread out. Seeing this, Tuo'er and the others immediately showed joy on their faces. "Jane, do you want to watch Bifrost?" Tuo'er suddenly said to Jane, his eyes full of tenderness. "Okay." Jane nodded slightly. "Wait for me to come back. I will come back to you when I settle the matter in God's domain." A few said. "Okay." Jane's face was full of reluctance, but she was a very sensible woman. She nodded and said, "I'm waiting for you. Let's go." Chen Hui walked directly into the totem, and said while observing the structure of the totem. Although Sif and the others hated Chen Hui so much, the other party could also pick up the existence of Mjolnir, and also mastered the other half of the potion that allowed Tuor to completely restore his divine power. Although Thor's magic seal can be resolved with just a word from Odin, but now Odin, Ksef, is in a deep sleep, and all power is in the hands of Loki. If they want to fight Loki, they must first rely on Chen Hui. Call. Soon, everyone except Jian was standing in the totem. At this time, Chen Hui had completely memorized the structure of the totem in his mind, and as a rainbow light suddenly flashed around him, Chen Hui felt that the surrounding space became blurred instantly, turning into streamers and flickering, like a rainbow like a river of light. Seeing this, Chen Hui showed strangeness in his eyes. The short-distance space teleportation doesn't feel like much, but the interstellar teleportation can clearly perceive the flow of the surrounding space. The feeling as if the consciousness is being pulled, makes Chen Hui feel very fresh. I have almost remembered the teleportation totem. When I return to Earth, I will start researching. Correct. Suddenly Chen Hui seemed to remember something, his eyes lit up. I remember that Tesseract is in S.H.I.E.L.D. Gwen's space power comes from the activation of energy elements in Tesseract. If I give Tesseract to Gwen, it may be greatly enhanced Gwen's power of space. And in this way, combined with the bioenergy program on this totem, it can greatly improve Gwen's ability to communicate with the God's domain space. It seems that when I return to Earth, I will have to find a way to get the Tesseract just thinking about it. Suddenly, the surrounding light dimmed, followed by everyone falling to the ground. Chen Hui looked around, and saw that this was a place similar to an altar, with a shining golden light, and broken ice slags were everywhere on the ground. And in this ice slag, lay several huge amounts of blue corpses. Seeing this, Chen Hui's eyes flashed. Frost Titan. As soon as his figure moved, he came to the side of the Frost Titan in an instant, picked up a small injection gun, and sucked out the blood of the Frost Titan. At the same time, his gaze didn't stop and continued to flow. He stopped suddenly and looked towards the highest part of the altar, where he saw a sharp sword inserted into it, shining brightly. There was a sparkle in Chen Hui's eyes. This sword is the key to his return to Earth. Chapter 96. Heimdall. Just as Chen Hui collected the Frost Titan blood and looked at the sharp sword used for teleportation, Tuer and others supported Heimdall, who was about to fall. Are you okay? Heimdall looked at Tuer weakly. Quick. Tuer, Frost Titan King Lauf has gone to your father's side, you have to stop him. What? As soon as Thor's face changed, he was about to pick up Mjolnir and fly deep into Asgard. But at this moment, he paused, only feeling that the warhammer in his hand was as heavy as a mountain, and he suddenly staggered and fell down. Toddler! Sif and the others suddenly exclaimed. Whoosh! At this moment, an injection tube flew over suddenly and pierced into Tuer's carotid artery with incomparable precision. At the same time, the 950 light golden medicinal liquid inside was automatically injected into Tuer's body. I didn't expect you to be attacked in Asgard, Torment. I wanted to give you the other half of the power recovery potion after I finished the visit, but now that Asgard can't be visited for the time being, I simply will wait here. Go save your father. Chen Hui waved his hand. Feeling the rapid recovery of the strength in his body, which was even several times stronger than before, Tuer's face changed slightly, showing disbelief, and the way he looked at Chen Hui suddenly changed. Thank you. Immediately, the Mjolnir in his hand spun violently, and the whole person flew at a high speed, flying towards the depths of Asgard. Let's go too, take him to heal. Chen Hui looked at Sif and the others again. Okay, then you wait here, don't go outside. Sif frowned slightly. She always felt that Chen came back to God's domain for some ulterior purpose, but she didn't have any clue for a while, so she could only say so. After walking out of Bifrost, she looked at Fondrel and said in a low voice, Fondrel, you are smarter, keep an eye on this kid, and let us know immediately if there is any situation. On Earth, we mighty dragons can't hold back the local snakes, but in Asgard, he can't jump. As long as this kid makes any moves, we can arrest him immediately. Clear. Fondrel sneered, I'll keep an eye on him. Okay. Sif nodded, and followed with the other two supporting Heimdall to leave for treatment. Mortal boy, you'd better give me Fondrel a peace of mind, otherwise, I'll let you taste the power of the sword in my hand. Fondrel looked towards Bifrost, then disappeared into the shadows. But he didn't see that at the Bifrost teleportation altar, Chen Hui watched Sif and the others leave, and then used chakra perception to hide in Fondrel, with a smile on his lips. Faintly, his body twisted slightly, like a phantom. At the same time, in the depths of Asgard, the figure of Chen Hui appeared. He glanced back at Bifrost's direction, and a sneering smile emerged from the corner of his mouth. The duplication technique is really useful, so I can get Odin's blood without anyone noticing it. The figure moved and disappeared instantly. Asgard twists and turns, and frost titans wreak havoc everywhere. PSST. Chen Hui slashed across the neck of a frost titan with his sword, and as the blood flew, chakra merged into his spiritual thoughts, making his spiritual power spread farther. Suddenly. Okay. Chen Hui's eyes moved, and he looked in one direction. I saw a dazzling energy ray erupting over there, and the terrifying power swept across the sky, burning many buildings. And in it, a figure was blasted out by the dazzling energy light, and it was vaguely seen that it was a huge blue figure, who hit the ground without knowing whether he was alive or dead. Seeing this, Chen Hui's figure flashed and approached quickly. Frost Titan King. This guy is not too tall, with blue skin, a hooked nose, and blood-red eyes shining with impotent blood. Chen Hui recognized it at a glance. This guy is the Frost Titan King. Se. Also Loki's biological father. He listened to Loki's words, came to Asgard from Jotunheim, wanted to kill Odin, but he didn't know that he was betrayed by Loki. Loki's real purpose is not to kill Odin, but to destroy the planet of Frost Titan, kill the king of Frost Titan, so as to claim credit from Odin to prove that he is the one who is qualified to inherit the throne. Help, help me. Lauf was still alive, seeing Chen Hui, his body trembled as if seeing the last straw. As long as you save me, I will give you endless benefits, DB. Suddenly Lauf opened his eyes wide. A sword shone with pale golden light, sliced through Lauf's throat, and dealt him a fatal blow. The genes of this Frost Titan should be somewhat special. After solving the Frost Titan King, Chen Hui quickly groped for him. First a tube of blood was drawn from his heart. After smoking, Chen Hui was still not satisfied. After thinking for a while, he dissected his bone marrow, brain, eyeballs and some important materials from his body, and collected them in a container specially prepared by him. In this way, he stood up with satisfaction. The whole process took less than 2 minutes. Call. Chen Hui didn't pause at all, heading towards the place where the Frost Titan King was blown out. There is a room filled with golden light, and Loki in a green cloak is fighting Thor. Loki holds a golden spear in his hand, from which the powerful energy light of the Frost Titan King is lased, called the Eternal Spear 5.4, which is Odin's weapon, not inferior to Mjolnir at all. With the blessing of this Eternal Spear, Loki's combat power has greatly increased, and he is actually on par with Thor, and there is even a faint tendency to suppress him. The two fought happily, and quickly rushed out of the room. At the same time, behind the two of them, another woman rushed out screaming, her face full of anxiety. This woman, of course, is Odin's wife. After she walked out of the room, Chen Hui came to Odin's room quickly, and saw a white-haired, white-bearded man with a white beard in his right eye on a golden bed shining with golden light. The old man with the metal blindfold was lying peacefully on it. Chen Hui's eyes flashed brightly. This old man is a secret worker. Chapter 97. Swish. Chen Hui's footsteps moved, and his figure was like a phantom, and he came to Odin's side in the blink of an eye. Amidst the golden glow, Odin's expression was serene. But Chen Hui knew that even if Odin fell into a deep sleep, he could perceive everything that happened outside. To be careful, the moment he got close to Odin, his symbiote battlesuit surged up and turned into a black night suit. The whole person, including the face, was completely covered. Mouth. At the same time, he took out a special needle from his body. The entire needle tube is condensed and cast from his vibranium bone. No matter what body protection Odin has, the extremely sharp needle tip can penetrate it. Be quick and get back before Loki uses Bifrost to destroy the Frosty Titan planet. The moment the vibranium needle was taken out, Chen Hui's eyes were fixed, and he stabbed towards Odin's body without any hesitation. Stab. Suddenly, a mass of energy flashed out from Odin's body surface like lightning and thunder, and like a frenzy of flames, blocking the needle tip. Seeing this, Chen Hui snorted coldly. Sure enough, there are protective measures. Ginger is still old and hot. Odin has been in God's domain for so many years, how could it be impossible for him to deploy protective measures while he was sleeping? And this protection, at first glance, is extremely strong. However, this defense was strong, but to Chen Hui, it still didn't cause much interference. Wow! Slam your palms hard. 1 ton, 2 tons, 10 tons, 100 tons, 1000 tons, until the moment of 3000 tons, the protection on Odin's body surface suddenly broke. With a bang, it shattered into countless star points. Chen Hui's control over power was extremely subtle, and he restrained the 3,000-ton giant force in an instant, and then the needle was directly inserted into Odin's body, and he saw traces of strange blood shining with light, drawn out by him. Blood of Odin. Got it at last. Chen Hui was heartbroken. Okay. Suddenly his expression changed. Keeping the duplication where the teleportation altar is located, it has been perceived that Thor and Loki are approaching quickly, and soon Loki will come in, open Bifrost, and destroy the planet of Frost Titan, and in this way, he will have no chance to return to Earth. Whoosh! The figure flashed. Without the slightest hesitation, the next moment, Chen Hui had disappeared into the room. In fact, there are many things in Odin that he can study, not only blood, but also brain fluid, bone marrow and other things. Especially the brain fluid, the things researched from it may greatly enhance his spiritual power. In this way, not only his body is extremely strong, but his mental power will also be extremely strong. But this is not a small risk to bear. Although Odin is sleeping, he is not dead. If he really dared to pump Odin's brain fluid, he might be able to wake him up in an instant. So Chen Hui didn't do that. It is the kingly way to be greedy, keep a low profile, and accept as soon as you see it. Besides, there is no time for him to do unnecessary things now. This time is urgent, everything was completed according to the plan, and I also obtained the gene of the Frost Titan King, which can be regarded as exceeding the quota. After researching the method of entering and leaving the God's domain at will, there are some opportunities to come to the God's domain to complete other plans. And I remember the appearance of the Celestials in Guardians of the Galaxy, and there was even a corpse of the Celestials. If I can get the genes of the Celestial group. Chen Hui narrowed his eyes, and quickly outlined in his mind the plan to come back to God's domain in the future. He is a restless master, and this time he came to God's domain just for a little wandering, and he still has big ambitions for the entire God's domain and the entire galaxy in the future. Brush, brush, brush. Chen Hui's figure was like lightning, and he soon came to Bifrost. At the moment Thor and Loki are fighting fiercely on Bifrost, the battle is very fierce, the thunder is surging violently, and the energy beam of the Eternal Gun is also infinitely powerful. At first glance, the entire Bifrost looks like it is playing firework, which is really beautiful, but with the violent energy surge, the entire Bifrost is trembling, and the abyss below is violently surging. Fondrel is at the end of the Bifrost. Looking at this scene, I dare not even step in. Too fierce. Fondrel watched Thor fight with fear. If I step into Bifrost right now, even the aftermath of the energy will overwhelm me. Who can stop the collision between Mjolnir and the Eternal Spear? No matter who is close to the center of the battle, definitely must die. Whoosh! At the moment when he was shocked and sighed, a black shadow suddenly flashed past him, and stepped into the Bifrost at once. Hey! Fondrel's complexion changed, followed by a sneer, which life or death thing? How dare you step into Bifrost at this time, isn't it looking for? Before he could utter the word death, Fondrel suddenly opened his eyes wide, and the eyeballs almost popped out. I saw that black shadow arrived at the center of the battle between Thor and Loki at an extremely fast speed, and the riot of energy aftermath around him had no effect on him at all, even under the hurricane of that shadow, he was almost torn crack. But that's not the most astonishing thing. The moment the figure approached Thor and Loki, it directly broke into the collision between Mjolnir and the Spear of Eternity, where the power is the most terrifying. 250 But the moment the collision energy touched the black shadow, there was a sound of PSST, and it was quickly knocked away. At the same time, the shadow was seen clutching Mjolnir with one hand and the Lance of Eternity with the other. Follow, get out! A roar! Just push with both hands! A powerful landslide and tsunami surged away, causing Thor and Loki to change their expressions drastically at this moment, and took a step back suddenly. Following that, the figure quickly passed between the two of them and arrived at the teleportation altar. Seeing this, Thor and Loki were both stunned and stupefied, forgetting for a moment that a decisive battle was about to take place. Call. This incomparably ferocious figure was naturally Chen Hui. As soon as he came over, the light shone on the teleportation altar, and the duplication of Chen Hui was already standing on it. With Chen Hui's arrival, the duplication dissipated, leaving only 10 finger bones floating in the air, accompanied by the duplication of Chen Hui. Carrot's energy was exhausted and fell down. With a flash of Chen Hui's thoughts, those 10 finger bones melted. Immediately, he came to the altar and stabbed the sharp sword on it. The humming sound suddenly sounded, followed closely by Chen Hui's figure, and quickly disappeared in a flash of light. Chapter 98. The moment Chen Hui disappeared. Deep in Asgard, in Odin's sleeping room, his eyelids moved and he opened his eyes suddenly. Okay. Frowning, Odin touched the place where Chen Hui drew his blood, and looked at the place where Chen Hui finally disappeared, with a deep look in his eyes. Who are you? Meanwhile, on Bifrost. Due to the sudden appearance of Chen Hui, the battle situation was disrupted, and both Tuo'er and Loki were stunned for a while, especially when they felt the shining of the teleportation light. They took a breath of cold air. Who was that terrifying figure just now? Doubts arose in the minds of both of them. Suddenly, Tuo'er seemed to realize something. He suddenly looked at the altar of the portal, moved his figure, quickly entered it, and looked around. There is no sign of Chen Hui. His face suddenly darkened. He didn't know who the mysterious black figure was, but he disappeared and left together with Chen Hui, so it must have something to do with Chen Hui. At this moment, Loki also came over. He saw the sharp sword at a glance, without the slightest hesitation. When he raised the eternal spear, a beam of energy ray blasted Thor away. Immediately, with a whoosh, the figure moved, and quickly came to the place where the clam sword was. Control the transmission direction of Bifrost, so that the energy in it is turned on to the maximum, and it is directly aimed at the planet where the Frost Titan is located. Haha! Jotunheim, Frost Titan, disappear for me. I am the most qualified to take the throne. Son of Odin. And Thor, my big brother, you are arrogant, reckless, well-developed limbs, brains simple. What qualifications do you have to become the king of the entire Asgard? Ah! Ha ha ha! Loki laughed wildly. Loki. Just then, a voice sounded. The voice was old, and even more vicissitudes of life. The moment it sounded, golden light surged, and immediately one hand grabbed the sword that was gradually covered and sealed by frost. Use your strength. Click. Suddenly the frost shattered, the sword was pulled out, and the whole Bifrost stopped. Loki was stunned. Father. The golden light dissipated, and Odin's figure appeared. He looked at Loki with disappointment in his eyes. Loki, if you want to inherit my throne and become the king of the entire Asgard, what you need is not killing and strategy, but mercy and tolerance. You have let me down so much. When Loki heard this, his body shook violently, and he backed away. Looking at Odin, he smiled wryly. Hee. Great Father of God, Odin, I understand. Just because I am not your biological son, you are biased, so you don't recognize any achievements I made. Since childhood, they are all in favor of that guy, Tuo'er, just because Tuo'er is your real son. I see, hee. Loki laughed, jumped back suddenly, and jumped into a space transmission channel. His figure was quickly swallowed up by the frenzied space storm in the channel. Loki. Brother. Seeing this, Tuo'er's face changed drastically. Jumping into the teleportation channel without activating the teleportation guardian light is courting death. With a movement of his figure, he suddenly came to the place where Loki jumped, and he also wanted to go in. But suddenly Odin pulled him back and shook his head. Thor, let's go. Wow! There was a flash of light. The next moment Thor had been taken deep into Asgard by Odin. Father, Loki he. Thor wanted to say something more. But Odin didn't interrupt him politely. Okay, Tuo'er, don't talk about Loki for now. Odin's eyes lit up, he looked at Tuo'er, and said meaningfully, tell me all the known information about the mortal who brought you here. At the moment, Earth. Queens, New York. Wow! Along with a rainbow shining, and amidst the smoke and dust, the figure of Chen Hui appeared at the door of the laboratory. After appearing, Chen Hui's figure did not pause at all, and immediately walked into the laboratory. It didn't take long to go back and forth in God's domain this time, but the rewards were huge. Not only did I get Odin's blood, but I also got important materials from King Frost Titan. Although the material on the Frost Titan King is not as precious as Odin's blood, it still has considerable research value. Call. Chen Hui traveled through the laboratory and came directly to the deepest part. Kaguya-kun, turn on all the devices, this time, I'm going to do a big experiment. Yes, Doctor. Kaguya responded. Boom boom boom. Soon all the lights in the depths of the laboratory were turned on, rows of sophisticated instruments were in operation, and Chen Hui took out all the harvest this time, the blood of Odin, the blood of ordinary Frost Titan, the blood of the King of Frost Titan Lauf, Brain, Eyeball House. Let's study the blood of the Frost Titan first, practice your hands, and warm up, Hui. Chen Hui took a long breath, and then threw himself into the experimental research with all his heart. Time passed quickly. Soon Chen Hui finished researching the genes of the Frost Titan. He extracted the genetic essence of the Frost Titan King, and incorporated it into his body, immediately making his original chakra energy with some more frost attributes. A piece of frost can be created out of thin air in an instant. This ability is a bit like Iceman in X-Men. The ice attribute is a variation of the water attribute. Chakra energy, or the biological, Okazhao, energy in the general human body, all have the 5 basic attributes of fire, water, wind, earth, and thunder. My chakra energy, because I stimulated it through the cell bioreactor, it presents a state of no attribute. Maybe in the future, besides the ice attribute, I can also integrate other attributes. It can explode with even greater power. Thinking of this, Chen Hui turned his attention to the remaining Thor genes. Integrate the attribute of thunder energy in the Thor gene. Except for the power of integrating attributes in chakra energy, Chen Hui didn't waste other materials on Frost Titan King. Definitely, these materials cannot be integrated into his body. So after thinking about it, Chen Hui prepared the materials for the Frost Titan King to integrate with his symbiote battle suit, and further strengthen his symbiote battle suit. Chapter 99. The research on alien symbionts has basically come to an end. He has cultivated many original symbionts, and also integrated some abilities in these original symbionts, and placed them in a specific warehouse by category. Chen Hui calls these symbionts that have integrated ability second-generation symbiont battlesuits. The first-generation symbiont battlesuit, naturally refers to the Venom battlesuit. As for the symbiont battlesuit on Gwen's body, the degree of integration is at the molecular level, and it can be shrunk into the DNA of the human body. Even when it is proficient, it can change its own shape at will, such as transforming itself into a liquid state and entering small gaps. The battlesuit can also be transformed into a weapon out of body. This special symbiont battlesuit was originally customized by Chen Hui specially for Gwen. It took a lot of effort, and it is still difficult to make another one. Because it needs to integrate all the Scarlet symbionts, and it still needs to be original, clones can't be used at all. With the materials gone, it was naturally difficult to replicate the special battlesuit on Gwen. But that was the original. Now, it can be put into the 3 generations sequence. Because of the materials on the Frost Titan King, his research progress on the symbiosis battlesuit has been improved rapidly, and Chen Hui found that the materials on the Frost Titan King 887 are actually perfectly integrated with the symbiosis battlesuit. The speed is even higher than that of the symbiont that became the symbiont after that. This provided Chen Hui with an idea. It seems that if you want to make a 3-generation molecular level symbiont battlesuit, you can find those special race creatures with a certain ability, integrate their material genes with the symbiont, and then you can easily make a molecular level symbiont battlesuit. The symbiote battlesuit is here. Special racial creatures, I don't know if mutant is counted, whether inhumans can also. Chen Hui thought suddenly. With this idea buried in his heart, Chen Hui continued to tailor a 3-generation molecular level symbiont battlesuit for himself, and began to transform the symbiont matrix on his wrist. One day you will be controlled by others and betray yourself. Soon, the 3-generation molecular level symbiont battlesuit integrated with King Frost Titan was produced. Call. Chen Hui stood in the symbiosis device. CCCB, Kaguya-kun, start symbiosis integrate. Yes, King. Kaguya-kun's voice sounded, followed by the soft lights around the device turned on, and started to start. Accompanied by the humming sound, around Chen Hui's body, streamlined streams of blue liquid suddenly condensed out of thin air, condensed constantly around Chen Hui's arms, legs, back, and around his head, and finally wrapped around Chen Hui's whole body. It turned into a strange battlesuit of light blue and transparent. Laugh. Suddenly Chen Hui's thoughts moved, and strands of rain rims appeared all over his body. The electric light penetrated into the battlesuit, making the light blue completely disappear. As if it had been tempered, the whole battlesuit appeared thinner and more transparent, almost as light as nothing when worn on the body. Wow! Soon, the entire symbiosis device was finished, the hatch was opened, and a cloud of white mist diffused out of it. Chen Hui's figure walked out of it, exactly the same as when he entered the symbiosis device, almost unchanged. But suddenly, his whole body twisted and changed, as if melting. A pool of water was formed in the blink of an eye, spreading on the ground. Wow! Suddenly, it condensed and evolved into a human form. Chen Hui looked at himself in the mirror restored to his original appearance, and couldn't help admiring. The molecular structure of the body suddenly changes and transforms into a liquid shape. This feeling is really strange, and my current battle suit has been tempered by my chakra energy. Refining, the shape transformation is more arbitrary, almost equivalent to the existence of one body with me. At this moment, if you look carefully at Chen Hui's palm with a magnifying glass, you can faintly see a layer of air current-like fluctuations flowing in his palm. This is his third-generation battlesuit. It is equivalent to his superficial skin, which can be worn on ordinary days without attracting attention. And still has extremely strong defensive performance. If he grabbed the energy beam shot by the destroyer with his bare hands this time, the skin on his palm would not be burned, and would be completely blocked by the third-generation battlesuit. Definitely, although thin and light as nothing, these 3 generations of battlesuits can still change into different forms, such as turning into his classic black windbreaker, and even transforming into the form of the Frost Titan because of the integration of the material on the Frost Titan King. It can perfectly integrate with Ice Chakra. In the future, I will make a lot of symbiont battlesuits, and it may be difficult to classify them. It's better to use an exclusive code name. Chen Hui thought about it. This third-generation battlesuit integrates the material of the Frost Titan King, and can transform my whole body into a liquid form. How about calling it the Frost Flow battlesuit? Thinking of this, Chen Hui backed up the data of this frosty battlesuit to the database, and then went to the laboratory specialized in genetic research, and looked at the Odin's blood that had been preserved with the highest safety standards. Next, it's time to study the blood of Odin. This blood of Odin is the key to my inexhaustible chakra. Concentrate all energy, all resources, and all minds on research. Chen Hui looked expectantly. Needless to say, the usefulness of divine power chakra, the changes it can bring to him are equivalent to the vibranium of the whole skeleton, enough to make him reborn. But sometimes to do things, you still need to combine work and rest. Chen Hui didn't study Odin's blood immediately, but walked out of the genetic research room and came to the periphery of the laboratory, planning to call Gwen out to have dinner together. This little girl is currently studying hard for the qualification to be admitted to the Imperial University. Chen Hui felt that it was very necessary for him to have a long talk with her all night after dinner, to help her tutor her homework, and to have a good time physically and mentally. But at this moment, Kaguya-ji's voice sounded. Doctor, Mr. Stark has requested a video chat. Chapter 100. Oh? Tony, he wants to video chat with me. Chen Hui had a strange expression on his face. According to his understanding, Tony should not do such a boring thing. Even if he is looking for something, he usually flies over wearing the Iron Man battlesuit. Could it be? Chen Hui's eyes flickered slightly, as if he had guessed something, and then said, Kaguya-ji, get on the phone. Yes, King. Kaguya-ji responded, followed by a flash of light in mid-air, and a 3D stereoscopic projection video appeared. Among them, a man wearing a black fur coat and a black blindfold on his left eye was flipping through the documents. He realized that Chen Hui had connected to the conversation request, and turned his head to look over. This person, isn't Nick Fury or who? Really? Seeing this, Chen Hui showed a clear expression, and he said indifferently, Fury, why are you looking for me this time? Nick Fury had approached him more than once. Most of them were rejected by him. And a few times I've seen him through Tony's light. Just like when New Mexico went to see Mjolnir, Nick Fury actually used tricks to lure Chen Hui there on purpose. That time Nick Fury made it clear that he was invited to join the Avengers, and then Chen Hui flatly rejected it. He has no interest in joining the Avengers. First, he doesn't like being controlled at all, and second, he doesn't know what the hell S.H.I.E.L.D. is. What a trouble camp. Moreover, there are too many secrets and research results on him. Fury is interested in his research results and research ability. Joining the Avengers is of no benefit to Chen Hui, and there will be a lot of trouble coming, and he even has to hand over his own research results. Not only is there no benefit, but there are a lot of disadvantages. A shrewd person like Chen Hui wouldn't do such a bad deal. Originally, during this video chat, Chen Hui had vaguely guessed that it was Fury. After all, only S.H.I.E.L.D. had the ability to enter Tony's house silently. He originally wanted to refuse directly, but suddenly remembered a key thing. Tesseract. Yes, Tesseract. This thing should still be in S.H.I.E.L.D by now. If you want Gwen to have the ability to teleport people to God's domain anytime, anywhere, you can't just rely on the teleportation totem. You also need the power of the space gem in Tesseract to enhance the power of space in Gwen's hands. So Chen Hui didn't refuse the call. He wanted to trick Fury about the Tesseract. Oh? It looks like you already guessed it was me. Fury looked at Chen Hui and said in surprise, but Dr. Chen Hui, according to your previous style, since you have already guessed, you should directly reject my call request. Why did you suddenly agree? Do you have something to ask for? Chen Hui raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. This Nick Fury is worthy of being an old agent, his brain is flexible, and he can guess some of his thoughts based on this alone. As the director of S.H.I.E.L.D, he is really well deserved. But Chen Hui is also an old fox, so naturally he won't be tricked by Fury. He calmly smiled and said, Fury, I do have something to ask you for, that is. If you want to find me in the future, just wait at the door of my laboratory. Don't resort to tricks test me, or come to me in a roundabout way, otherwise, the next time something like today happens, S.H.I.E.L.D will always be my enemy. As he spoke, Chen Hui's voice gradually became colder. Fury, if you don't want me to lose favor with S.H.I.E.L.D and turn us into enemies, then you have to obediently follow my rules when doing things in the future, understand? Fury frowned upon hearing this. Chen Hui's suddenly cold attitude made him feel suspicious. He definitely doesn't want to be enemies with Chen Hui. To be honest, if S.H.I.E.L.D has an enemy like Chen Hui, then it will definitely be a bloodbath in the future. According to Fury's assessment, Chen Hui alone is equivalent to half of the Hydra organization. This is because the opponent does not know much information. The following evaluation shows how much influence a Chen Hui has. Once he runs to the opposite side of S.H.I.E.L.D, then the days of S.H.I.E.L.D will be very sad. So no matter how calm Fury was, no matter how cunning, Fury felt a little uneasy at the moment. After a moment of silence, he regained his composure and said, Understood, Dr. Chen Hui, this time it was my fault, I promise, such a mistake will not happen again next time. Well, it's good to understand. Chen Hui waved his hand lightly and said, if there is nothing else, then this conversation will end here. As he spoke, he pretended to turn off the call. Seeing this, Fury narrowed his eyes slightly, and the last trace of doubts about Chen Hui disappeared in his heart, and hurriedly said, Wait, Dr. Chen Hui, I'm here to see you this time, and I have something very important to do. Important thing? Chen Hui looked over, what's that about? It's not about Avengers, is it? Definitely not. Fury shook his head, followed by a mysterious smile on the corner of his mouth, and said, I can guarantee that you will be very interested in this matter. 0.0 As he spoke, a video file was sent over to Chen Hui. There was an indiscernible flash of light in Chen Hui's eyes. Fury's mysterious look, could it be something about the research on Tesseract? The video file sent over has been downloaded in the blink of an eye. Open, see a doctor in the video. A blue crystal in the shape of a cube appeared, shining brightly, and even faintly visible, in which the electric current of blue energy was constantly flickering, which seemed very strange. Seeing this, Chen Hui's eyes lit up sharply. Tesseract. Really? Fury came to him this time to study Tesseract. Although he had already guessed in his heart, Chen Hui was still a little excited when he saw the Tesseract. Unexpectedly, when he was thinking about the Tesseract appeared, so that he didn't have to bother to get information from Fury. Chen Hui quickly calmed down. He looked at Fury, showed a funny smile, and asked deliberately, What? Is there anything special about this energy body? Dr. Chen Hui, you are right to call this thing an energy body, but I prefer to call it .energy. Infinite energy. Fury laughed, I don't know if you are interested in coming to S.H.I.E.L.D and studying with us. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.